Testing. Okay. We'll call the meeting to order. If you wouldn't mind joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Kay,
Present and happy to be here.
Councilmember Stroman,
Here.
Councilmember Engel,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Walker. Here. Mayor Hagan.
Here. Do we want to start with our presentation for Measure P? Yeah. Roll.
I'd love to see that.
You want?
Good evening, council members, city staff. Mr. Alves and I are putting on the Measure P Committee biannual report. This report is specifically for what the money has been spent on thus far. It is as of December 17th meeting. So it's not completely updated to the end of the year, but it should give a good reflection of the overall status. Michelle?
You have a clicker?
No, she didn't give it to me. I was clickless.
All right.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about the Measure P overview, what it was, its purpose, also the purpose of the Measure P committee, the objective and the scope, the resource allocation that was approved by the council, a financial analysis with revenue, expenses, and encumbrances, community involvement, community input, the key takeaways, and recommendation to city council and staff. So Measure P was a voter-approved ballot, giving a 1% local sales tax increase. It was designed to help support Escalon's long-term financial stability. Do I continue? Oh, okay. The voters voted on this based on that the fact that the funds were intended to maintain and enhance city services. Public safety was a big one. We wanted our officers to get a big chunk of this. And to also be able to retain and recruit more officers, give them proper equipment. We also wanted us to be able to maintain the streets and infrastructure programs and improvements, as well as dedicating money to the parks and the youth programs, so on and so forth. The money is deposited into the general fund, and Celinda does a great job of the oversight and giving us transparency on where the money's going and how it's being spent. So some of these I already mentioned. We're looking for long-term financial sustainability, which was the purpose of putting this on the ballot to begin with. We want to increase funding in any way we can, and this was one avenue that we, as voters, decided would be beneficial. And essentially, the goal of the job of the Measure P committee is to ensure transparency and accountable spending in the use of the Measure P funds by providing oversight to what the council decides it wants to do and making sure that it's in line with what the voters intended or voted on this and its intention of being spent. So our overall objective as Measure P committee is to engage with the community to address growing demands and the local needs and invest in the future of Escalon, to demonstrate how Measure P revenues are collected and spent, to confirm that the funds support authorized city services and needs, and inform city council, staff, and the public about Measure P's financial and operational impacts, and to highlight the achievements and identify opportunities for ongoing fiscal management. The scope of what we do is we review Measure P revenue and expenditures for the fiscal year and year to date. We provide the biannual report to the council. We examine all funded services and assess performance and compliance with the Measure P objectives. We focus on adherence to the voter authorization, city policies, and legal requirements, and we evaluate financial reporting, oversight procedures, and transparency practices. So the resource allocation was made prior to the committee being established. I think the committee was incredibly important to ensure that the voters essentially are getting what the city proposed, the council proposed that this money was going to be spent on. So I thank Councilmember Engel for bringing this forward with establishing the committee. The projected annual revenue was $980,000. We do understand that this has shifted a little bit. The allocation of the money from the county, to my understanding, is not black and white. It comes in a lump sum, and Celinda has a very difficult job of having to separate out what is regular sales tax versus Measure P, and she's done a phenomenal job. The council had approved that of this $980,000, $335,000 of it would go to salaries, primarily to our police. Then we had our UAAL pay down, our CalPERS. That was a big portion of our debt that we needed to pay off. We have another $150,000 that was allocated for economic development. Was not completely defined at the time of allocating the money, but we knew that we wanted it to go towards developing our city economically and supporting businesses. And then the remaining $145,000 we've had in various different categories. We call it equipment or other, but essentially what I like to call it as the amount of money that we have to give to the city, to the residents in terms of something that they desire to have within the city that's not necessarily something to sustain the city financially. So the Measure P provided an additional 1% sales tax we went from 7.75 to 8.75. This was for purchases as groceries, medicine, medical devices, rent, and utilities are exempt from this 1%. All funds generated by this measure remain in Escalon and cannot be taken by San Joaquin County or the state of California. The revenue fluctuations are influenced by changes in business activity and seasonal shopping patterns. We do have many people that shop outside of town because we don't have everything that one needs to survive in this town, but we encourage people to shop local if they can. Based on this graphic here, Overall, you see on the left, it was projected we would receive $980,000 for the year. Year to date, again, this is as of December 15th, we had received $740,244. With that projection, we do understand that it is expected that we will cross over that 980. However, we don't want to, one, hold ourselves to that because we don't want to allocate extra money that we can't assure is going to come in. And also, it gives us a little bit of a cushion at the end if we do go over, that we have extra money to put into other areas that may have not been initially part of the council's recommendation. On the right side, you can see quarter one, which is July, August, September. We had $401,301 for quarter one, and then quarter two, $338,943. The revenue is based, as you can see in the graph, it's going up and down, and that's the growth and the decline over the last 6 months. We have businesses that are coming in, not staying long. They're not getting enough business to sustain their cost of running the business. So a lot of this is local economic conditions. Business openings and closures, and the regional market patterns. On this slide, excuse me, we have the expenses. The projected, this particularly is for salaries. We projected to spend $335,000 on salaries. This included new contract for our police, as well as salary increase for our GSU and MMU staff across the board. As of December, we had spent $71,938. If you break that down, 82.6% of that went to the police, 4.7% went to upper management, and 4.9% went to Justin. No, to the courtyard. If you look over, there is also 7.9%, which is other, and I've broken that down into different areas that covers that were not very significant to be included on the pie graph. One. The UAAL pay down, we projected we were going to spend $350,000 there. And in November, that's exactly what we did. However, if you can see what is owed after that pay down, we still owe $5.8 million. So that is a hefty bill that we have that we might want to consider doing something there. Economic development was projected, we would invest $150,000. As of last year, the end of year, we had yet to spend that money, but we did at the time, which I know has been a bit modified, had a breakdown of the economic development plan, which was the consulting fee to have an actual plan for the city. We were looking at the time at $75,000. And then we also were looking at providing business incentives for new, existing startup businesses, $75,000 as well. In terms of the other category, we had appropriated $145,000. As of end of year, we have not spent any of that money. So the revenue and expense overview, total expenses year to date was $421,939. Salaries represented 17% of total Measure P expenses. We have encumbered salaries, which represent 35.7% of the total expenses. These were expenses that we had accounted for, but had not yet been paid. They were on a schedule to be paid, so they were included just as encumbered. The majority of Measure P funding is supporting services, infrastructure, and reserves. This I will summarize for you because it's very detailed, but overall, this is Celinda's finance tracker of Measure P collections. And you can see where on the left, the budget needs is exactly what the council had approved and the anticipated amount we would receive. The year-to-date expenses above that represents everything that I just went through. And the, as well as the anticipated income, I know that we did not include the overage of the anticipated revenue, just because we don't want to count that until we have it in our possession. At the bottom, you can see how the money was allocated. And on the next slide, I believe, yes, shows in terms of the revenue, the 2949 was used for Measure P. That was the cost to get it on the ballot, to promote it. I presume now that it did not include the legal fees for it, but that's what it costs to get Measure P on the ballot. And then per quarter, what our salary increases were. As you can see, there is encumbered amounts that had yet to be paid at those times, but that were promised. So those amounts were included in the totals. Okay, next one. This one, I'm not going to go into far of detail, but the top portion of that is the revenue that comes in. I want to have you pay close attention to the very top box. Celinda has a very difficult job of figuring out what month it's for. And as I've learned, the county likes to pay you a little extra and then come back and say, oh, no, wait, you owe us that back. So she's done a really good job in trying to figure out what is associated with Measure P and versus what was sales tax overall. So these are rough numbers, but they're pretty right on. The bottom is just self-explanatory in the salaries for the community, just so they're aware when you see things such as street lighting MP payroll, that may draw some confusion. Essentially, that is to pay for a worker with Measure P funds on salary who went and fixed a light. They specify their tasks, so that's what that means. And I think the rest is pretty much explained in the other slides. So community involvement is vital to the effective oversight and success of Measure P. Together, we can build a stronger, more vibrant community. We absolutely encourage residents to participate on the Measure P committee. There is one seat available. Attend city council meetings to stay informed about Measure P activities and provide input, suggestions, and feedback on what is important to them in the community and what projects they would like to see done. We also want to get a new system, clearly, to help raise awareness to ensure that Measure P continues to reflect what the community needs and what we want based on those that voted in favor for this measure. So we have sought out the input of the community over the last few months. We have asked what they would like to see the money spent on. There has been, for full transparency, a lot of disgruntled community members who feel as though this money was allocated prior to a committee being assigned for some sort of oversight or gathering community input, and that it was done essentially blindly. While I do agree in some respect, I also understand that the need that we had to make sure that our officers had a contract and that we paid off significant debt, that it was appropriate for the time. What I, as well as the community, would like to see is that with the next budget workshop or meeting, that community input is really taken into consideration, as we are the ones that made this happen, and that we include not just things that benefit the city, the government part of the city and salaries and paying off their retirement and whatnot, but also things that benefit the everyday resident. The police department is one of the biggest things that the community feels is shorted and wants to see the money go to. They want to match salary to neighboring cities, possibly providing a monetary incentive for officers that are willing to relocate and officers that have an X amount of service within our department. The other part to that is also looking into their current retirement plan. And I think that if you ask a majority of the officers, the salary is not as much of an issue as the guidelines and the parameters regarding the retirement and how it's not up to what other cities have and offer, which is a big incentive for them to move on to a better competing city. Everybody wants a dog park. I know that this is a controversial issue for some. We have, I believe, a park that was looked into, neighbors that didn't want it. I want to say that there's always going to be something that somebody is going to complain about, but what is in the best interest of our city? There are parks that we don't have to have something like this backed up to neighbors' homes, and rules and ordinances that can be put in something like a dog park to ensure that the people utilizing it are cleaning up after themselves. Many people would like to see us enhance our parks, possible sensory equipment for special needs children, a water feature, benches that are not, I guess, of the ones that are there. I know some of our parks already have that. But also a basketball court was something that was sought after for Hogan Park. Water rate adjustment, Ed's going to talk about this one, that our water rates continue to rise. That is something that would affect everybody in this town. I think the hardest thing with Measure P is doing something that everybody's going to benefit from. And that would be one thing that we all could benefit from. I would like, along with some others, to see some welcome to Escalon signs at our 4 main entrances. I'm not talking anything fancy. If you drive across state lines, you see just the metal signs that say, welcome to Nevada, welcome to California. Justin, I know we've talked, they're not incredibly expensive. I think it would be a nice thing that, that we could do. Walking or biking trails around the city, like a green belt landscape with trees and benches, something to provide a safe space for people to do those types of things. And then thoroughfare on the, landscaping on the main thoroughfare, like some sort of flowers or beautification instead of what's currently there. Again, this is coming from the community, not just me. Okay, so key takeaways. Measure P remains fiscally stable with revenues exceeding expenses year to date. The salaries we discussed totaling $71,939, representing a small portion of the total Measure P spending. And the police salary does account for the majority of that. The community priorities align with public safety and economic development investments. And the expenditures are being directed to the priorities identified by the community, like public safety, street and infrastructure maintenance, park and recreation, and neighborhood quality of life. And it remains a vital funding source for Escalon's essential services. And our recommendation to City Council is to align future spending with community input, We will prepare the next biannual report by May of 2026, which we hope will be taken into serious consideration when doing the budget for the next fiscal year. Review updated Measure P revenue and expenditure reports monthly and quarterly. That's what I will be doing, and bringing to the attention if I see anything that needs to be discussed before the biannual report. Take a serious consideration to community feedback to refine future Measure P investment plans, focusing the dollars where they deliver the greatest public benefit, and look at recruiting an additional member for the current vacant seat on this committee. So it's just not me and Sleepy over here. Okay, I'm done. And you can,
Okay, well, thank you.
he's going to take over.
Thank you.
I think you're a round of applause.
Yeah.
Okay, my version is a little different. Okay, Measure P. Let's talk about Measure P and where it came from. Measure P is nothing more than another Band-Aid on an economy that we can't seem to keep straight. Measure P is the predecessor of about a couple years ago when we bankrupted the water enterprise to take $465,000 out of it and sequester other monies that were in it. So then we had a water enterprise that was bankrupt. This city, like all other cities, has these financial bumps in the road. And we're no one different than anyone else. There's 3 cities in California that gone bankrupt. Vallejo, Vallejo, Stockton, and San Bernardino all gone bankrupt because of the same problem. There's another city, which is the Mammoth Lakes went bankrupt, but they were sued with a contract dispute with a developer on an airport. So they got a $42 million judgment against them. So that took them out of the loop. Anyway, the other 3 cities went bankrupt, all went through reorganization, and they're all still alive and running. What I want to talk to you about is this. You know, there's a saying sometimes doing the same thing over and over again and not getting different results is the definition of insanity. We're insane. We are. We do this garbage all the time, like everybody else. We're no different. It's because we don't spend the time looking at alternatives. Alternatives are simple in my mind, and it's called economic development. For as long as I was on the city council, I could never get this council or this town to accept the fact we needed economic development. Now we have a gentleman I see here now as Mr. Barber, and I hope you can do it, buddy, because this is what we need. We need funding mechanisms to keep this from going on and on and on, because the taxpayers are eventually going to say no. And then what are you going to do then? I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to start laying people off. You're going to cut down services. This is what happens. It's not a mystery. We have to move beyond the same old circus and go above and beyond. We need to find funding mechanisms. We need to talk about how this town could change because, first of all, we're 8,000 people or less. The most go-to situation to solve economic problems in government is to build more houses. Problem with that is, people, it's good. It's kind of like drugs. It's great for a while, and you got to take more to get better and higher. And it's the same thing in government. You can build those houses, and yeah, we'll have a lot of money for a while. Guess what? You're going to have more government. You're going to have more infrastructure. You're going to have everything else that goes with it, including crime. Then what happens is you got to build more and get more money and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't solve the problem. If you truly want to solve the problem, you have to get out of the loop. And getting out of the loop is economic development and finding a mechanism that can fund the government at a rate that it grows. Because you're not going to stop government from growing. I can tell you that right now. I was on the council for 28 years and I never saw that ever happen. So if you want to be happy, let's find a way to fund the situation we're living with called government. Let's find mechanisms that we can keep enough cash flow to keep it going. Let's not deny the reality. You know, I don't want to come back here another 3 years and do another one of these Measure P things. I'd like to see us smarten up, take the economic development and move forward. Now, we talked about what the community thought of this whole thing. I've talked to different people. She's talked to different people. You get a mixed reaction. Most people don't know what's going on and they don't care until it's to the point they can't afford it no more. That's the reality. It's just the way it is. It's like council members. How many people are lining up to be council members? Not very many. Nobody wants to do any more than they have to do than they're doing already. Those are the realities. So let's take our resources that we have and let's use them to our best advantage. I talked to Jay Lynn today, and here we're discussing some of the different options in terms of economic development. And I think The key here is, over the years, we've hired people in our city manager position who were the least expensive. And what we got is what we paid for. We got nothing. We got people that did paper pushing. That's it. We didn't get any growth in the economic development sector. We didn't get less taxes. What we got was somebody who showed up to work and filled out the paperwork. That's not what we need. What we need is an individual who is creative, aggressive, and willing to go beyond and take risks. Because and out of the loop where we're just rolling over every 3 years for a tax increase. Let's be smarter than that. And I'm hoping his economic development committee will produce something worthwhile. And we have options. There's options out there. We discussed a couple of them today. As far as the community is concerned and what the committee offered us in terms of money to give back to the community was like $150,000, $140,000. You know what? That's nothing. That's peanuts. You couldn't give it, you give everybody in the town $5, big deal. You want to help this town? Let's talk about water. 4 or 5 years ago, Henry Hessinger was our city manager, and this general fund had another crisis. So they went to look for revenue, and they went to the water enterprise. And what they found there was $1.2 million. The $1.2 million was a nice change for them to move over to the general fund so they could survive any sort of layoffs and crisis. So they took $460,000, I believe it was, to pay back a loan that's been on the books for, I don't know, 50 years probably. Now, what happened when we bought the enterprise, we bought the enterprise from a guy named Carl Strobel, and this was a long time ago. Mr. Strobel sold us the water enterprise. But the state in California, the law was you had to pay a unit price for this unit of the enterprise, no matter what shape it was in. We bought a beat-up Chevy, and we paid for like a Mercedes, okay? But we had to find funding for that. And that's where that money came from, the general fund over to the water enterprise. And that's how we got that water enterprise going, with some other funding. Well, fast forward 50 years because we never paid it back. And the reason we never paid it back is the councils all before me, and including me, felt that we borrowed money from ourselves to help ourselves. So we didn't feel obligated to pay it back. Well, when Henry Hessinger came on board, he decided, well, we got to find it somewhere. So he went to the water enterprise and he took the 460, whatever it was now. Then he took the other money coming in from the surface water treatment plant, which we sell to Tracy, our water allotment, and he took that money and he sequestered it out of the budget. So the water enterprise was almost bankrupt at this point. So now they had to raise the water rates 4 different times to get it back to 1.2 million, so they had a substantial amount of operating funds. That's how your water rates got where they're at today. What I'm saying is this. You've got $3 million put aside there. I got a neck on the roof. Okay. Anyway, the point is this. I think after the town has done what they've done for this community in terms of stepping up and paying you, and I say you meaning us, our government, and bailing us out every 3 years, we owe them something more than a thank you. I believe there's enough funding in there that we could take enough money from that reserve, move it over to the water enterprise, and lower those water rates a little bit. Everybody in this town benefits from the water. It's not, she talked about dog parks and stuff. Not everybody has a dog. Not everybody wants a dog. The water is the only thing that we have commonality to. And that's where, in my opinion, we should try to help back to the community. I don't want to see brown lawns in Escalon, okay? I don't want to drive like I'm going to Las Vegas and look at everybody's lawns or rocks and stuff. We live in the Central Valley. We have water. Let's make it possible for people to have nice looking yards so we have a nice community like we do today. We have a great community. This is one of the best cities in the whole damn state, if not the best. So anyway, that kind of gets me to the point where I'm at, and that's what I'm asking this council to consider. Finding a way, get those water rates down, take some of that money you sequestered and start an endowment in the water enterprise. So in other words, you're going to move money from the sequestered amount of money you have, or take $1 million of it, put it in there, and that money will generate interest. And that will stay in that enterprise and never be spent. The principal cannot be spent. So you have a funding mechanism, okay? That'll help us. And it'll also send a message back to this town that, hey, look, they do actually think you're important enough to give you that break. We had a water increase, we had a sewer increase, and we had a garbage increase. Somewhere along the line, guys, something has to come back home. Think about that. You can only kick a dog so many times before you get bit. Anyway, I want to thank you for your time. I hope you think about what I'm telling you. But key here to the future of Escalon is one simple thing, economic development. If we don't do it, we're screwed, okay? So let's focus on that, because that is the key to Escalon's future, and not have to do Measure P every 3 years. Thank you.
So, excuse me, wanted to go ahead and thank former Mayor Ed as well as Gabrielle for taking the time to, excuse me, to represent the people. And I know you're not getting paid to do these kind of things, and these are the kind of things that, you know, you can see we have one seat open, right? So we need community members to step up and help out. Other than that, like Ed has alluded to, these are things that are actively being dealt with. The reason why we went through a strategic plan, brought Trevin on board, had the staff we have, because we do have the game plan to really try to make our businesses thrive. Because when you look at government, right, you can either have taxes, you can have growth, or you can have business. And obviously, taxes, no one wants to pay. Growth, more people, more problems. And when you look at, you know, the least of the evil, so to speak, your sales tax base is where it's at. So this is, I think, if I speak, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think everyone on council feels common link to the idea of, you know, fortifying that sales base so that we don't have to, you know, ask the citizens to do this stuff in the future. So I do appreciate your time in putting this together. And I think a couple of council members had a question or two for you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I definitely have a statement at least if
Yeah.
if
Who
we
wants to
have
go
people
first?
online.
Start at 10.
Sure. Well, first, I just want to say thank you to both of you for doing the work, right? It's not a glamorous job. It was volunteer time, and thank you for all the effort. Thank you for the report. It was informative. I think it was well done. It paints a good picture for anybody that wants to read it. But the biggest thanks I want to get is to give you for the outreach to the city, right? Because that was the real intent behind the Measure P committee, was to get folks out there, additional people that weren't involved in council or government, to see what Escalon really wanted to do with those funds. And while, you know, those original funds or the initial funds were allocated prior to the committee being formed, I think it sounds like the committee understands why that happened. And I think we'll see something different moving forward, right? We're looking at the mid-year. We're going to look at the full budget recommendation when you come back in May. I am curious as to Mr. Alves' recommendation. So I would ask the city, like, is that a possibility? Is that something you can get back to us with on how that may work, if at all possible, and then verification of those funds and how allocation could possibly work, or what it would look like, just for us to at least take a look at it, examine it, and see what the council thinks. But again, thank you guys. I appreciate it a ton. You two have probably reached more than you know, the lot of us up here combined. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. I mean, we care about the town. She did an excellent job on the layout. I give her credit for that 100%. My perspective is a little different because of my past experience with the community in terms of a council member. So I see things in a different light than she does and a lot of people do. I was on this thing for 28 years. I saw budgets after budgets after budgets. And I saw situations where I would question why we just keep doing the same thing. It just seems to me we need to get off that carousel. And we need to figure out better methods than what we're doing. Because, first of all, this community is unique in a lot of ways. It's a tight community. And I think people in this town will pull for the right direction. So if we can come up with a plan, and I think I was talking to the city manager today, he's on board. And I think he's got the right attitude. And I hope this gentleman here knows what he's doing. If not, we fire him, get somebody else. It's that simple. I mean, I'm not kidding around. It's true. You need to keep people in positions that have competence. If they're competent, we keep them. If not, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Please excuse his.
How about that, Trevin?
I completely agree.
Hey, way to go.
I would like
Attaboy.
to say that I think that a lot of people were taken back by the fact that the money was already allocated without any input from the community. And we are the ones that voted in favor of this, and they thought that we would have some insight. I will say that although I do understand that everybody wants something that's going to benefit themselves, I'm sure Ed did as well, did a lot of educating people on what our budget currently is, what our financial situation is. I am very in tune with the finances and have gone through it forensically. And I understand that although I'd love to see beautiful flowers and nice signs, it's not practical. It is practical to invest in the city as the resources that we need to pay down these loans and to pay our officers better and to have, people in your position. The one thing I did want to just add that I didn't earlier was I do have a bit of concern or need clarification with the Measure P funds that are going to economic development. It was my understanding that this would not just be for startup businesses or existing businesses, but all businesses. And I was in touch with a business yesterday that is doing a phenomenal job in this town who didn't qualify for one of the utility grants because they were not, they're a newer business. And I don't know that that's true or not, but I really would like that we consider inclusion for all businesses because some of these newer businesses are the ones that are bringing in a lot of business. And if we're not giving them any bit of benefit, there may not be much reason for them to want to stay here and they can go to another city.
Gabriella, quick question.
Yeah.
Can you provide that information to the city manager?
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure if you're aware of it or.
Yeah, we're aware. So Trevin, in his work to not get fired, has found a countywide grant available for businesses that were affected by COVID, and it's up to $5,000. So they needed to start, kind of around the 2020 timeframe. And so this business in particular is not eligible for that grant, but I'm
So
sure
this is county money.
this is county money.
it's not-
But I'm referring to, is that the Spark program?
Correct.
Okay, so I think, and I understand that if it's COVID related, however, this is a thriving business that I utilize for my kid and I want to see stay in here. And I'm wondering if there can be some modifications to include these newer businesses that are bringing business to our town. And what can we do for them? If it's not a COVID grant, is there a bit of the Measure P funds that we can use to provide some sort of relief for them? Even if it's just signage, acting on behalf of the business to get the landlord to push signage for them, something to help them out too.
Well, I think moving forward, those are the discussions that we need to have to, dial in those little things, and bringing Trevor on board is a lot of the reason for it, so that we're not spinning our wheels. We have, someone who can headhunt specific things we need to be.
We just need to make sure that the
doing.
business development is going, or the incentives are going to be inclusive for all, not just if you've been here this long or
Correct.
you have this many employees.
Uh-huh.
There needs to be a little something for everybody to make it
So
beneficial.
those are the things I think that, obviously we can't have a thorough discussion on right here,
Understood.
but are things that I think will come in the future with committee and interaction with the council and the community. And to address your original concern, coming out of the Measure P, going through the, dealing with the police as far as a contract and not having 3 people in the seat yet, the council knew kind of what the citizens wanted as far as like the police being dealt with. And we understood that there were some major anchors that were holding us back. And that's that $5.8 million in unfunded liabilities that has to be paid down. So game planning that forward, that allows us to essentially open up potentially millions of dollars in the future by paying off our debts.
And I think that that's the message that we're trying to get to the
Correct,
community.
so that-
But I will say, Mayor, that
Uh,
we wanted the money to go to the police. We did not know that that included a 4% raise for all managerial staff and for regular staff. And I think that was not disclosed. Some of these staff are getting paid with benefits already over $200,000 a year. That is, to us, it doesn't sound very fair, right? We would have rather that the council to be more transparent that was going to happen and it wasn't just going to go to the police. So all I ask is moving forward that we are transparent, that across the board in what you intend the money to be spent.
That was the intention of setting up the board. If we didn't want to listen to you, we wouldn't set up the board. You know what I'm saying? So that's the whole idea of the board, is getting it going. And in the future, that's what the intention of the board is to have that ear to the ground and understand where to go with things. I mean, we were, at the beginning of this, obviously we were elected in that position to try to make these difficult decisions. At the same time, we're setting up the board and, did it go 100% smooth? No, but it's heading the right direction. So I do feel like in the grand scheme of things, we'll be in a good spot.
Okay. Anything else?
You did a great job. Thanks to council for their indulgence.
You want me to thank them?
Mr. Mayor, I have a few questions.
Oh, we had,
Me. The work.
sorry, Gabriella.
I thank you all very much for listening to us.
Gabriella, Councilman Sean had a.
Yes, sir.
So how frequently are you guys meeting?
Who, Ed and I?
Mhm.
Like the day before the presentations do. I'm just kidding. Ed and I are talking frequently. We're not meeting per se. A lot of the work that we're doing for community outreach and input is independently. I obviously have Escalon residence page. I've chosen not to use it just because I want independent opinions. I don't want people to rally together. But we have worked together to talk, about things that are to put together with the presentation and whatnot.
So fair to say you're going around town talking to people?
Oh, absolutely. We both independently are and gathering data on that and then coming together. And Ed is not in agreement with a lot of the things that were on there, but it was important to both of us that we input everything that we've spoken to the community about.
I guess,
Mr. Mayor, for me, Sean, the thing for me is this: when I look at those things, and because of my background, I understand practicality and wish list. I'm not into wish lists. Wish lists are not fundable. Practicality is what we need to get things on board and move forward. There's a day if we ever get to that point, we have too much money, then we can go to the wish list. We're not there. We're not going to ever be there.
Needs and wants.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And
I understand.
I have sympathy and empathy for those people in the community, but here's the problem. Most people won't spend the time to research what this body does or this town does. So they're in denial. They hear rumors and so forth and so on. I went through it for 20 years. The bottom line is, this is not an easy job. He doesn't have an easy job as a city manager. It's a grind. No employee who works here has an easy job because they're always subject to criticism. But the bottom line is this. When the money came in from Measure P to you guys, I wasn't concerned where it was going to go. I was more concerned with finding a solution to stop that type of situation. And that's where I was talking about the economic zone, because to me, that's the bottom line.
And I think we're heading that direction.
I think we are too. Like I said, I think the city manager was in favor of it. They sound positive about it.
Councilman Stroman had another question.
Sure.
so for the next presentation, can you include some data as far as how you're seeking the input and the feedback from the stakeholders? I mean,
It's verbal. I walk every day in this town, every day. I run into people all the time. It's, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, okay, I'm Measure P. Oh, what's Measure P? Some of these people don't even know what Measure P is. I mean, I said, hey, it's what you voted for. Oh, I didn't know that. There is not what's the word? Apparent acknowledgement of Measure P in this town, to be honest with you. Okay? You have to bring it to their attention what's going on, and they go, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. Very few people approach me and say, hey, by the way, Measure P. I have not had one person do that yet.
okay, so this is why I ask. So obviously
you both are aware that we put together a stipend. And I can't speak for the other council members, but the way that I was envisioning Measure P is there would be a little table or a booth set up at Christmas on Main. You guys are representing the Measure P Advisory Committee and soliciting that input and talking to the community. And so I guess moving forward, I just ask if you both can have a greater, I mean, everybody knows you both, but it would be helpful to have a greater presence out there in the community gathering that data, because that was how when Councilmember Engel was talking about forming the committee, that's how I envisioned it, is that you guys were out there and you were the face, and then you'd come back and report to council, hey, I met with Sally Jones. Sally Jones talked about this. Yada, yada.
Hold on.
She has webpage, I have a webpage.
Okay, so
Hey,
I'm
if
asking
I
you
may
to please
answer.
share that information with us.
Okay, so I did not realize that that was part of the requirements. As you know, I don't know about him, but I have an incredibly busy schedule and life. And this is on my volunteer time. I have made, I know, a lot of connections, running into people, calling people, and interacting with people that are part of this town. I absolutely agree. I would like to say, as much as you want us to give you grace in getting Measure P, and the allocation of the funding kind of grounded, I asked for the same grace in return. My vision, I do know that we have a $500 stipend. My vision is to be out there at farmers markets. Personally, with my health conditions, I cannot be out there on Christmas on Main. But I do plan on what you're talking about, whether it's sitting in front of Marvell or whatever, getting pamphlets, getting suggestion box, whatever it is that we have to do. I do have the same vision, and I'm well aware that that was part of what was offered to the committee. This is not something where we're engaging on this every single day. And so I will say by the next report or presentation, you should see some of that coming to fruition. What I would like to know is, are you asking specifically for the breakdown of who we're talking to and the percentage of phone call versus, in person? I think that's a bit asinine to ask, given the fact that this is a volunteer position, and to record all of that is a lot. And a lot of people don't want to be known as to what, they want. They want to remain confidential. So I'd like to have you clarify on your parameters, and we'll be happy to include that by our next presentation.
If I may, as the one who suggested that what Sean is suggesting that he imagined in his head is not by any means what I had imagined when I recommended the committee. But there's a possibility, which is why we offered a stipend in case that was something that was wanted to be used. The idea was to find folks that were prominent in the community that had outreach. They would be able to go out and find people and have those one-on-one conversations and talk to them and get actual input. As far as, a booth, there is that money there if those are things that you guys want to pursue. With that, there's more than one way to skin a cat there, right? And again, I mean, from my perspective, it sounds a little inappreciative, what I'm hearing from this side of the dais. But I just want to say I appreciate what you guys have done so far, reaching out to the community. I know you both have been really engaged in talking to folks. Please keep up the good work. Please continue with that. And I look forward to the next report.
Well, Councilmember Engel, I would appreciate, first of all, that you don't speak for me. But secondly, my question is not to your question. I'm not asking you to get into the granular level. All I'm saying is that it would be helpful if we you're required to provide a biannual report. What would be helpful moving forward is just creating this dialogue. What are we hearing from the community? What do they want to see?
I think that I did provide that in the presentation. I'm not sure if you paid attention to the community input. My understanding was exactly what Councilmember Engel had stated, that we will provide you with a $500 per fiscal year stipend if you want to create banners or do pamphlets or whatnot. I didn't know that it was a requirement. If it is a requirement, I can work that in. But as you know, I am a single mother. I'm working 2,200 cold cases for Fresno County, and I have brain cancer right now. So my life is a little impacted for me to be sitting out selling, Measure P suggestions every Saturday, respectfully. I think that we provided the council with exactly what I believe that they were looking for. My question is, if you're asking for something more fine-tuned, I am happy to accommodate the council's needs, but I would like to know, are you looking for as it would be on a campaign signature where I need name, address, phone
No,
number so that
absolutely
you can
not.
go back and verify? Or is, I thought what I put, this is community input, this is what we're hearing. I didn't specify who it came from. I didn't know that that was relevant. And I didn't know that it was a requirement that I had to sit out at Christmas at Maine. But I will be happy to accommodate as part of my position if that's what you're asking.
That's not what I'm asking. What I am saying is that I would just like to see a greater presence. I mean, from what Ed said, you guys are doing a lot of things verbally. As you both know, a lot of news within the city of Escalon travels on social media. Have you thought about creating a Measure P advisory committee social media account and share those blurbs out there? Get that information out there. The expectation is that you both aren't sitting at Main Street Park for 9 hours gathering that information.
Understood.
Guys,
I-
for a
I
second,
do-
hold on one
If I
second.
can just just
Okay,
respond.
let's finish because we got a lot to get through.
I do own Escalon residence page. We have over 5,500 members. It was a decision that I made to not utilize the platform because I know that all of the responses would be self-serving and not something that took into consideration what the government needs within the city would be. They don't care about your retirement or you getting a raise. Education through one-on-one was more important, and that's what we chose to do. And we can definitely work towards making it more accommodating to you for the next presentation.
Hey, so guys, we can talk about this on a different time. I want to say thank you for all you guys are doing. This, I know there's growing pains with all this stuff. We'll get there. I appreciate everything you're doing. It means a lot to everyone. I know Sean as well. I think he's just trying to talk about some more specifics that will probably be better off in a small venue type conversation.
And I'd be happy to meet with you, and
Absolutely.
I'd be happy to have you come sit out there with me if you'd like to hear
Absolutely.
community input as well.
So
Absolutely.
Okay.
let's, in the meantime, let's move on. I think unless you have anything else you needed to, okay.
Mr. Mayor, you mind if I get a word in here?
Yes. Counselor-
I just wanted to tell you both, that presentation was fantastic. You did a great job, all of the detail on it. The one thing that I did kind of want to clarify, when you were talking about a business in town that had been denied for a grant, nothing as far as Measure P and economic development grants, nothing has been approved yet. It's actually item number 11 on the agenda tonight. So
Well, they were denied as a result of Measure P. So I can talk to you privately about that. But that is of concern to me. I want this money for economic development. I think the whole city wants it to be all inclusive for all businesses, not ones that were only here in a certain period of time or have
Right.
X amount of employees. Then we're creating exclusion. This is a very poppin' business. They're doing good for our community. I would hate to see them go. And that's what's going to happen if we are accommodating.
if we're
other-
choosing winners and losers, I completely understand where you're coming from. I know that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Mr. City Manager, we haven't spent a dime of the economic development funds on any grant. Nothing has been approved. And like I said, it's item 11 for us to actually discuss tonight.
It's the county program.
Mr. Barber has been soliciting these businesses, so maybe there's misunderstanding within the business and what you're coming to them with. But this was just yesterday. I'd be happy to talk privately with anybody that wants more information, but this is a business that I fully support. These are young guys that are doing a phenomenal job, and they deserve a piece of what we're offering as well.
I agree. I don't think that the government should pick winners and losers. So I 100% agree with you there.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess we'll go on to the consent calendar. Anyone want to pull off anything up here from the consent calendar?
No, sir. I'll go first this time.
What? Anyone from the community want to pull off anything from the consent calendar? No? Okay, we'll bring it back.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay. Excuse me. We'll move on to staff communications and updates to our city manager.
Yep, I'll start over there with Trevin.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Mayor. So we have the Recreation and Development Services Report, monthly reports for you tonight. One of the key differences with the Development Services Report is you'll notice an emphasis on economic development and the metrics associated with that. And we're starting to now shift from planning to implementation. So we've gone through our meeting with Economic Development Committee to generate the ideas on what to do with incentives. We've then met with and presented those rough ideas to City Council. We received your feedback, refined them, and now bringing them back tonight later on the agenda item to adopt the rules for those incentives. But you'll start to see in the report what those metrics look like. And the first one is the Spark Grant. This is a county grant program. We didn't create it. It's funded by the county through COVID money. But we do have an opportunity as local businesses to apply for those funds. So we decided to use staff time to go help businesses apply for those county funds. We printed off all of everybody's utility bills because it's so much easier for us. And Celinda actually did this, so kudos to her. It's so much easier for us to print off a statement of the last 2 years of utility bills than to ask a business to go online and click on every single month 50 times to download and print those bills. So we just did everyone a favor, printed out those utility bills, collated them, and then we walked to every single business that we thought qualified under the county's grant requirements to help them apply for those. We were able to help submit and support an additional 10 applications, which would be about $50,000 for our community if everybody gets awarded. And we anticipate a lot more. Again, we handed out 135. There's only enough funding for 500,000. So hopefully 100 of our businesses will apply and our community will get $500,000. That's the goal. And we'll keep pushing and helping people apply as we go along. And you'll see the other statistics here related to the incentives tonight. So if council adopts them as they're described in here, then we'll start filling in these numbers and seeing businesses added to Shop San Joaquin or businesses added to the BizConnect or new business grant applications and so on and so forth recorded in these statistics. So that was the main update for me for development services. Thank you.
Any questions for Trevin? For economic development, sorry.
Oh, I just want to say that's excellent. Great job. Fantastic. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, I think we can keep them around.
We on to finance.
I'll just add to that. I mean, so Trevin found a grant from the county, 3 or 4 years old, that was really underutilized countywide. And not only did we find it and share with our businesses, he walked the streets, he talked to each business, he gave them information packet that would help them to apply for this grant. We're probably now second in total applications across the entire county, when third, I don't know, second or third, when we're talking about Stockton and Tracy's and Manteca's and Lathrop's and Lodi's. So we've gone above, and Trevin has gone above and beyond to locate an opportunity for these business. And yes, this was again, 3 or 4 year old program that was specifically looking at one issue. sort of relieving businesses that were impacted by COVID. And it appears that this one business was not applicable. I have in my notes, and I'm sure Trevin does too, to talk to Gabriella to see who this business is. We'll reach out to them directly and see if there's anything we can or cannot do to help them. Maybe not $5,000 for utility bills, but perhaps something else that we can do.
Councilman Kay, you had something?
Great work. That's awesome. What a big impact for you to make on this community in such a short amount of time.
My pleasure.
Just so you know, Ed's just giving you a bad time.
I fully support that. We need more of that attitude in government, trust me.
We want to financial head next.
Certainly.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. We do have our December 31st reports, which is our Q2 report. The way that we have talked about this before, the city, we collect a lot of our revenues and expend a lot of our monies in different times that aren't really conforming to these general mid-year. So at the end of December 31st, we really didn't have a whole lot of our revenues received yet. That's just the way our city works. So in the end of this month, in the end of January, I expect these numbers are going to look a little bit different, but we'll still discuss what we had as of 12/31 because it is important.
You feel we're still on target?
We are. It's just we're about a month off of all these expected timeframes that we should be hitting. Our mid-year is kind of block, whereas you get a couple more months after that, and we really have our revenues where you could actually anticipate, the future. So this that we're looking at here is our money, the cash that we have in our different areas. Right now at 12/31, we were looking at about 20 million, and you can see where all the different dollar amounts go. We're talking about the water service earlier. You see that's got about 5.4. We've got quite a bit in our traffic money. That's 4.2. General fund's going to be hanging around 3 million, 4 million around this time of year. It's going to be on the top. But these types of monies are just, everything's running, and we pick a date and we do a report. And we happen to pick month end because we're expecting that. So at 12/31, this is what we're standing at. All these monies are earning interest. At something that changed 2 years ago. We switched as the team decided to go and move our investments into something different instead of doing the same thing, which was not earning very much. And now we are. So we are seeing these numbers grow, even though we are putting up a little bit more money than we were in prior years to pay off debt. So that's a really good kind of behind the scenes thing that we don't see from these black and white numbers, is that we are reducing city debt. We are earning more. So Measure P is a big part of that.
That's going to, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're talking 5 to 10 years. It's going to free up a couple $1 million.
Should be within year 9, year 10, we'll see that.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is a game plan there, guys. So just so you're aware.
It's one way that we can make a dollar work twice. Because even though we're paying $350,000 a year to pay down just that one small piece of the CalPERS puzzle, it does have the effect of about $2.04. So that is $750,000 for the year. That's why that balance went down. Otherwise, the projections for CalPERS, the money keeps increasing, the debt keeps increasing, the required payment keeps increasing, and at about year 7, it does not look good. So we have to continue to pay that down just as if it was any other loan or any other debt, because we are on the hook for it. So that's our cash page, and that way you can look at any little area that you want to and see how much money we have in that in enterprise. Right now, that 51% shows that we have 51% of our expense budget is utilized. Mid-year should be at 50%, just real easy math. So we're right on, a little bit over. That's the way the city runs. The expenses are continual and a little high towards this first half of the year. That's the same way we were last year. So we have received about 34% of the revenue that we expect. And just in these past few days, we've posted quite a bit more for property taxes and things like that are coming in. So things that the city is just bill for, like the LLMD expenses. We need those property taxes to come in and repay the city. So that's starting to happen now. In the interest of time, I won't walk through everything, but we do have our normal pages that we're used to seeing. We have this report set that we show each quarter, each month. So we can really, if you have your favorite area that you want to look at, you can generally find it. Let's keep on going to another page. This is Measure P. So we talked about that earlier, about how we had old data or data from a previous months. This type of thing is a nice living, breathing organism that we have here with Measure P. It gets a lot of money in. And like it was explained, we have a true up payment. So we're earning and earning, and the state tax board says, okay, well, you're probably going to earn X amount. So we're just going to give you a little bit more. And when they true up, they take it back. So that's why we see those larger dollar amounts about every 3 months with a bunch of small ones, because they're going 2 steps forward and 1 step back with us. And that's very common. It's just that this is the first year that we have it. So the 980,000 anticipated is a modest number. Low. We're going to always hit low, because I want to say my expenses, I'm going to anticipate higher expenses and lower revenue so that we are never surprised. So it's a very conservative approach. And you'll see that in December, we spent another 35,000.
Sorry.
A little break.
Sorry, Bob.
So our year-to-date expenses right now are the 454,000. We're still at that low anticipated 980. Right now, in a few slides later, we'll see the revenue portions. We're at about 11% high on the anticipated total sales tax collections for this point in the year. So that's for Measure P and for normal. So as we see these Measure P numbers, it's great because they're new to us. Our actual sales tax base that we're used to seeing in previous years is reducing. And there's lots of economic reasons for that we can go into in depth at another time. But we're going to be using slightly lower anticipated base sales tax revenues for our next budget. So here we go. I moved that $2,949 into 2025 because that's actually when we spent it. That's about the only difference we have here other than updating the expenses. We're at about 583 total. We've got our collection of 819,000. Our expenses of 454. And as we discussed, we haven't spent everything that we've expected. Everything that was put in the budget prior to our budget that we did last year, we kind of have to look into the future and see what we're going to spend. That 980,000 is what we're expecting to collect. And these were the expenses that we were expecting to incur. So what do we have here? We have our special funding. So last year, we had, for the first time that I'm aware of, a budget surplus. Because in 2 years ago, we cut the budget by 515,000, right-sized everything, increased our investments, and changed the way we were doing business, basically with our budgets. We now have this zero-based budget, meaning if I have revenues, I have expenses to match, or I have a surplus, which is great. We want that surplus. So we've been running off of that surplus in the current year for maintenance items that were not able to be funded in previous years. So, and that's what we have here in that surplus budget funds in the center. It's probably the most interesting thing we have there. We've posted our pool termination funds. We had our library project that's ended. We have our great Reagan donation. So those monies are sitting there waiting to be used. This budget surplus has been picking up all the slack for some of the computers that we had to increase, had to replace, our server replacements, our fire panel upgrades, our RIM server upgrades. So there was a lot of things that was spent with money that was from our last year's budget. So we haven't had to use those Measure P monies this year that are slated for equipment.
So Linda, is that special fund in an interest-bearing account as well?
Yes, all the money that the city has at its disposal right now is earning interest. The only thing that is not is the actual checking account. I keep 1.7 million in that in order to pay actual bills. The rest, any idle cash of any kind is earning. And that's why we have that investment income increase over prior years, because we're making all of it work.
Thank you.
So this right here is a nice little summary page. It shows our earnings, the account balances that we have from our investments, and it shows our loan balances. So we can take a look at kind of the shocking number of the amount of loan. We kind of have to say, well, look, we have all these loans. We've had to get them. We've had to buy equipment. We've had to buy water meters. We've bought buildings, all these things, but we have to pay them off. So that's kind of where we're using some of these Measure P monies, is to pay them off so that the expense that we incur for the interest portion doesn't keep eating up all the revenues that the city has. Because those numbers aren't going down, but the revenue might. The revenue from sales tax, which is 81%, as we've talked about, we need to make sure that that 81% of revenue that we're getting from our top producers is funding the city. So we kind of have to take a look at this and say, we have to pay this down. This interest is getting to be a little much. So that UAL money is a great way to make that $1 work twice for us to cut that down. And then after that, we'll target something else. We'll just keep targeting the debt until it's paid off, as long as the council approves such a.
You build your house on a rock, not on sand, right?
You want to be without all these loans, so that when another opportunity does come up, we have the financial power to take advantage of it. So that's a nice little summary sheet. This one here, it shows us for the LLNDs, and we have a negative number up there because we, at this point in time, hadn't posted any of their property taxes. So that'll turn around in our next report. We have to produce these in enough time to get them out for the council meeting, but then the next day it's like stuff posts and it changes, and yeah. So our next report will show a nice positive number there. And we go through here in detail. We have our revenues up in the top right. We can see where our target for the revenues for sales tax is 50%, but we've actually collected 61%. I would love it if at the end of the year we are 11% high. That would be great. That's one of our biggest revenue sectors. So 11% there is a lot, as opposed to one of these lower amounts that are still, revenue that the city uses, but the factor is just 11% of that would be great. So we'll be looking for that. We have all of our expenses on the next for general fund. We can kind of see where we are, right where we should be really for mid-year. There was no new revenue source and no new expense source, so we saw no reason to add anything. We had already budgeted for all the salaries and things that we have added so far this year. In fact, we haven't added as much. We have an accountant position open that we will hope to fill soon. That hasn't been filled for 6 months now. So we've got some savings in a few areas. We can see the horrible number of workman's comp. It's quite expensive. Our liability insurance is expensive. So those are kind of one of the big expenses that the city, each department has to kind of eat a little piece of. But we are on target. I think our expenses are just 1% high. That's nothing. How far? Next slides. We'll keep going. So these are some special reports they're added. We have a separate report for the police department, public works, recreation services, development services, the enterprise water. And you can walk through these as you have time to see. Some of these, what it's showing, like in rec, is showing over a 5-year period. And so you can really see like rec right now has lost $709,000 because the amount of expense exceeds the amount of revenues that are brought in. So that might be something where if Measure P wanted to cover something, that would be a good area where you could say yes. Because this part of our balanced budget is I have a revenue and I have an expense. And opposite, I have an expense and I must have a revenue to cover it. So that's kind of what as this big change that we've done with our budgets, that's one of the changes that will progress. So that's the nutshell of our mid-year.
Well, to start, I just want to say thank you. I think you've done a great job bringing us up to speed and really getting the dollars that weren't working for us. So it's appreciated. Does anyone up here have questions at all?
I would second what you said, Mr. Mayor. I mean, the level of detail is, it's a lot of numbers, but the way that you present it to us and turn to the community, it's very easy to follow and creates a greater transparency for everyone. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Okay.
I can't say enough good things about your work, ever. I almost feel bad sometimes. I'm only kind of paying attention because I've already read through all your numbers because it's so easy to digest. You can sit here and go through it, and spend 30, 45 minutes, going through all those numbers without the explanation from the expert because you make it make so much sense so easily. So I just think you do a wonderful job for us, and I really, really appreciate you.
And just thank you for reiterating that our funds are now in income producing investments. It is a change that we've made in the last 2 years and one of the better changes in the city of Escalon and yeah, helping the ship move forward.
Oh,
So
definitely.
I appreciate it. So thank you.
Councilman Engel, you good?
Oh, I said thank you. She saw me.
Okay, just making sure. All right, off to Chief then.
In a previous meeting, it was brought up about hardening the vehicles, adding armor. It was looked into. It was kind of determined that it was cost prohibitive to retrofit all our current fleet with ballistic panels. It was decided going forward, we'll be adding that expense to the purchase of new vehicles. We can get factory installed armor for an additional about $5,000 per vehicle rather than having to go back and get it reinstalled on all of our vehicles. December was not a very remarkable month as far as police activity. Officer Gunter led the department in arrests with 8. Officer Escalante led the department in citations with 13. Did have a pretty good arrest. Officer Gunter contacted a subject and after learning she was on probation, went and did a probation search on her house and got an arrest, recovered some stolen property and drugs, and ended up booking her to county jail.
Oh, well, keep doing the good work you're doing. I mean, it keeps us safe around here, and I think you can hear the community through Gabriella and Ed, obviously, really are seeing what you're doing and appreciating it as well as myself, and I'm assuming the council too. So keep up the good work. It doesn't go unnoticed.
Well, thank you. They're out there working hard, as am I.
Yeah, notable on page 80, right? Decrease in notable crimes reported.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
I asked Chief one comment and one question. I just had my question. Question is, does Officer Palomino still work here?
Yeah,
We haven't heard his name in a while, so
That's 2 months without him being on here.
I think he's raising the bar. People are trying to compete with him, although he did blow everybody out of the water. He had overall the department, we had 59 DUI arrests. Palomino alone had 26 of them. And last year he got the MAT award, and I believe he had 15 DUIs last year. So I think he's got over 10 more DUIs this year than he did last year.
I'm not calling him a slacker. But,
So he's still out there working.
We've not
And
heard his
DUIs
name.
take a lot of time. They're very labor intensive as far as how much goes into making those arrests.
And the other, this is just a comment / request. So with the current detour that we have on Main Street, heard from a few residents that live on Coley that Coley is, the speed is going way up on Coley because of the detour for the work that we're doing on Main Street. So can we please keep an eye on that?
I will make sure it gets done.
Thank you.
Anything else up here?
I do have a similar request, but it's not about Coley. I think we all saw on the residents page, someone talking about out at Escalon Blota, crossing between Heritage and the high school, that people are just blowing through that. 2 days after that post was made on the residents page, my wife and I pulled up to that same crosswalk, stopped and waited, car blew right by us while we were sitting there. Seems like maybe we should see if we can get a car sitting out there and start getting some tickets for people blowing through that crosswalk while people are in it.
Like to get a sting type situation set up is kind of what I'm working on.
I love it.
Anything else for Chief or? All right, we're heading over to Public Works.
Good evening, council. I'm sure mine will be much quicker and shorter. Last council meeting question was the warranty on the roof for the new library constructed, and I wasn't familiar with what it was at the time, but it is 20 years. It's kind of what we were thinking, but we did find out that's what it is. Also, the shade structure downtown, I have since, just in the last week, gone with a different contractor. I'm having issues with the current contractor getting it repaired. So we have since moved on to another contractor, waiting on him to get material. So we We haven't forgotten about the shade structure, even though it may look like that sometimes. It's just the whole government issue is just kind of plays in hand there. Also mentioned the traffic on Coley. We were aware of that. We were out actually today as far as Public Works trying to notice if there's anything we could do better on the detour. Construction downtown seems to be going well. It's on track. The weather has actually been very great for us as far as concrete. We're getting a lot of it down in the downtown area. I do appreciate everybody's patience. We're doing the best we can. But as issues come up, just let me know and we'll address it right away.
What do you think the loose timeline is, if you had to like approximate?
I'm hoping we're going to be more into March than we are in April. As long as the weather keeps cooperating with us, we're doing well. I think we're going to be out of the main street as far as through 1st and 3rd here in the next, hopefully 30 days. So then businesses won't be as affected as they have been.
Okay. I wasn't laughing at you, sorry. Anything else for
I do.
Public Works?
Yeah. It was requested by the director for the car show at the park at the, I guess it would be the east end where the gravel is, that there are some potholes down there. They were inquiring if those would be taken care of during any of this park rehab, or if not, if we could.
Is that in the actual lawn area or in the rock area?
In the rock area.
Yeah, it'd actually be in the if you drive by now, half of the lot has been addressed already, but we'll make sure it's addressed. The contractor will be smoothing that whole lot prior to leaving the project.
Excellent. Thank you.
Dustin, could you please share with the community what we're doing with the, what would that be? The west side where we always put the booths up?
In the actual lawn itself?
Yeah, the lawn itself.
Yeah, so the projection date is the 26th that we will start. Basically what will be visualized through the public is the lawn's going to be getting torn up, disced up, scraped. We're going to add some sprinklers, fix what's have there, be adding some material in there, and then adding hydro seed. So really the ultimate goal there is to help level that lawn so there are no potholes. So hopefully we can get some wheelchairs that can roll through there without any hard surfaces. But the goal is to level out that lawn so it's not as rough as it has been in the past.
Thank you.
Anything else up here?
I just wanted to reiterate my praise of your team during the rains, at the beginning of the year, end of last year. I saw you guys out there just working constantly and just doing a fantastic job keeping our roads clear. Just really appreciate the hard work, especially in the rainy weather. So I didn't want to compliment everybody else and not compliment your crew.
Yeah, Slinda seems to take everything.
Follow the money.
Linda's not a Bears fan.
Obviously, you do a great job. Your crew is always on point, and we appreciate it. I know the community does, for sure. Any other thing up here? All right. To the citizens or constituents, any questions for staff? You have a question for staff? Oh, I'm sorry.
I can do it after.
I apologize. Hey, Gabriella, I'm sorry. Can we just settle down for a second? I was premature on that. Sorry, city manager.
All right, just a few items. Wanted to let the community know that we, Trevin, Celinda, and I plan to host coffee with City Hall. That'll be this Friday, starting at 9 a.m. at Soul Coffee on Main Street. So we'll be down there. So if you want to join us for a cup of coffee, ask a question, maybe about the Main Street Park or any construction project, please feel free to join us and ask a question. So again, coffee with City Hall this Friday, 9 a.m. at Soul Coffee. Couple notes of things that have transpired in the past. We did, based on council direction, remove the bus stop on the west side of McHenry. We did that after some notification to anyone who maybe relied on that. We don't think there are many, so we did remove that bus stop. We are doing our economic development-based code enforcement. We have started very slowly. We're focusing on education. We're focusing on corporate businesses first, but we'll continue to sort of expand that. Our goal here is not to harp on someone. It's to really improve the hospitality, the visibility, the aesthetics, the welcomeness of our economic corridors, our commercial corridors, to bring in more revenue for the city. And so we all know that we can pitch in on things that we haven't touched in a while, and our staff is doing the same thing. You may have seen the median out on North Escalon Velota across from the park. We've torn out some of the old landscaping, put in some new trees, new landscaping. So we are improving our areas as well to help in this. Another thing moving forward is the Westwood LLD 218 process to eventually, if voter approved, district resident approved, to install a basketball court, a full court basketball court, and swing sets at their request. So we will move that forward in the next several months, go out to vote and go through that normal process. That is moving forward. And then in terms of economic development, we did release a request for proposals for a consultant to prepare a plan for us. We did receive, I think, 13 proposals, which is a fantastic turnout. We are going through those reviews. We will coordinate with the Economic Development Committee and then hopefully get someone on board, probably March timeframe, and have that document completed, we think, by the end of this calendar year. And so that'll really give a clear indication where we are heading in terms of economic development. I don't want to sugarcoat it. You can't just snap your fingers and start doing economic development. It's going to take laying some groundwork first for us to really get humming. But we have full commitment, both from the council, thank you, and staff, to get this thing going in the right direction. So let's not get ahead of ourselves, but I think we have a good plan in place.
Apologize for that, city manager. It was not intentional.
Quite all right.
Gabriella, you had you want to start it out?
Just wondering about, there's an update on the light on First and James, stop sign lighting for El Portal, and any crosswalk from El Portal in Oklahoma to McHenry. We're doing all these other projects to beautify the city, but what about the projects that we need for the safety of our children?
Yeah, I'll get back to you with an update on
Thank you.
Anyone else?
The structure on that parking lot, parking lot, is that what you're talking about getting repaired?
that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're gonna do it back in the same way it was before?
Yes, sir.
What about the downtown little thing for the water booth there at the
That'll be a new gazebo installed.
new gazebo as well?
Correct.
So Linda, when you talk about revenues drying up in certain sectors of the economy, what are you referring to?
We have indications from various different tax reporting showing that the rise of electric vehicles is reducing vehicle fuel purchases. And we find that that is one of the top 3 producers of sales tax, base sales tax that we have here. So when you take a sector that's that important to the city and you start to reduce it even slightly, we're going to receive less tax money. So we have our top producers bring in right around 90% of the sales tax, and that's just in 2 or 3 different business types. The rest of the city businesses bring in the last little tiny
So you're
amount.
saying 90% of the revenues the city gets is from gas tax?
We have gas and fast food and, of course, concrete.
What percentage of the money coming in is the gas tax?
I don't have the exact percentage, but it is the lion's share.
Lion's share, 2/3, a third?
I'd be willing to say two-thirds.
2/3.
So you get 1% of 2/3 of your revenue reducing, you reduce your revenue quite a bit.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So these are the things that we're looking at going forward. There's other factors too, that these different people that are much smarter than me come up with as to why we're not getting as much tax money. Their estimates are fairly close to my estimates too for different things that I look at. So I've been very happy with their estimations. I don't like the numbers that they're producing because they're lower, and that means lower revenues for the city. But we do have the Measure P monies. So that relates to not just the sales tax portion, but say someone buys a car and has it shipped here, or other things, DMV types of things, the Amazon purchases, all those types of things are going to be areas where Measure P is really going to shine. But it's, if we all start driving electric cars, we're not going to have any money.
The next thing is that food prices are going down as well, which is also going to affect it.
great for people, for the residents, people overall, great for our expenses for the city, but that tax revenue is also going to reproduce.
One will offset the other.
No.
What about the vehicles that car dealerships got where the old Ford used to be? Are they selling very much?
Not in the top producers, no.
Normally, that's the number one producer.
If you have a brand new car, there's a lot more sales tax on it than a used car. You have all the DMV aspects and things of a new car, used car. That used car is going to be valued at less sales tax, less. So it's not going to replace a new car dealership.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? For the staff?
Matters presented for the audience is what you're after.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, next.
Not quite yet.
This is for staff, to ask questions for the staff. No problem. Anyone have questions for staff? No? Online, do we have any? No? Excuse me, we'll bring it back. Any last questions for staff?
Just a comment, the day after we discussed that bus stop sign again, I saw two young ladies sitting out there in the pouring rain in their walkers in the dirt over there. So I'm quite happy to hear that we have removed that.
Okay. This will be your time here for hold on, I gotta say something real quick, but matters presented from the audience. The public may address the city council on any item that is on the agenda at the time the item is called. The public may also address the city council on any item not on the agenda that is within the subject matter of the city of Escalon. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 5 minutes. Unused time may not be yielded to another speaker. You may state your name and address for the record. However, it is not required. Due to state law, action will not be taken on an item that is not on the agenda, and except for brief responses, the council is prohibited from discussing any item not on the agenda. If it requires action, it will be referred to staff and/or placed on a future agenda. The determination of whether an item is within the subject matter of the city is a discretionary decision made by the mayor. All right, so.
I don't do well with public speaking, so.
You can do
I did
it.
a nice little paper, but I'm not going to look at you.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Brouillard. I'm here to express my concerns regarding the recently adopted policy changes affecting children's eligibility to participate in extracurricular and recreational sports programs. I have lived on the same property in this community my entire life, and I was raised in Escalon along with my 5 siblings. We all attended Dent Elementary School, El Portal Middle School, and Escalon High School. Growing up, I participated in recreational sports programs in Escalon for approximately 12 years. These programs were a meaningful part of my childhood and helped shape my connection to this community, which is why it is so important to me that my children have access to the same opportunities. Under the new policy, eligibility appears to require either residency within city limits, possession of an Escalon zip code, or enrollment in an Escalon Unified School District school. While I understand the intent of applying an out-of-district fee to families who do not reside within the district, I believe this fee is being incorrectly applied to my family. My residence is located within the Escalon Unified School District. My children are homeschooled through Hart Ransom Charter, and despite meeting district residency requirements, they are being classified as out-of-district participants. As a result, they are effectively being excluded from sports programs unless I pay an additional fee. This issue has been ongoing for several years. Our daughter has participated for 3 years in rec ball, and our son participated last year. Each year, I have had to repeatedly request that this fee be waived despite our continued eligibility based on residency. The inconsistency in how this policy is applied creates unnecessary barriers and makes it extremely difficult for my children to participate in recreational sports they should reasonably be entitled to access. Additionally, when obtaining a building permit for our home, we were required to work through San Joaquin County because we are in fact residents of San Joaquin County, and pay the applicable school impact fees prior to permit issuance. Given that we are required to pay school taxes and fees associated with district residency, it is both frustrating and discouraging to now be told that our children are ineligible to participate without paying the additional fee. I respectfully request that the out-of-district fee be waived for my children and that consideration be given to revising or clarifying this policy for future years to prevent similar issues for families in comparable circumstances. Thank you for your time and consideration. I would appreciate any clarification you can provide and look forward to a resolution that allows my children to continue to participate in the recreational programs that they enjoy.
So I think there might be some confusion there because I'm pretty sure she's eligible.
It's,
Oh, yeah.
that's,
Can you hold on a second, please? Just hang on. Okay,
Okay, well, I'm just saying, I think, can we get with her after and
Yeah.
see if we can clear it up?
We can absolutely. The way it was worded is live within the 95320.
Which you do.
my address, no.
9536, we have no deal at.
that's the strange part about their circumstance.
Or be enrolled in Escalon
Yeah, it's not
Unified School
and,
District.
it's over.
But my children are
Okay.
homeschooled.
So,
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
so
I'm
this
not
is
against your
like, this is
situation. I'm
probably
just
a
trying to-
very unique circumstance. And
Is that an issue we have that hurts for the entire town, or is it just one area between Escalon and Oakdale?
if the children weren't homeschooled, they would probably go to an Escalon Unified.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, in this situation, I mean, obviously you live in Escalon, but do we need to do an amendment to that, or how's that work? Yeah, I mean,
I think
it's
that, I think
it's
we're
not, it's the spirit of the law is different. than
I was
intent.
involved with this with,
You know what I'm saying?
with Mr. Bouillard. I'm sorry, I've known that, don't say your name right. And discussed this with the city manager, so I'm actually really familiar with
Okay,
it.
what do you got?
So school district, they are in Escalon Unified. They are in San Joaquin County, but somehow they have a 95361 zip code.
It's weird.
And so, if it weren't for the zip
I'll
code,
tell you how it is. Center line on Skynoville Road.
It's Henry Road.
No, listen to me. On the west side of the road is
Okay.
Escalon Mail. East side is Oakdale.
We get our mail from
From the
Oakdale.
center of Henry Road, and we're right in between Henry and Skynoville.
makes
Road.
perfect sense.
Middle of Henry Road, if you're on the east side, you're Oakdale School District. If you're on the west side, you're Escalon School District. You have a problem out there, you call San Joaquin County Sheriff's Department, and they'll argue with you until you tell them where you're exactly at. And then they'll come out.
It takes a long time
You
for
can't
somebody
get
to
Stanislaus
respond.
out there, Escalon Fire comes out there, I've had them in my place several times. And buses go by the house, they stop there, pick up the kids, they picked up me there.
Right.
I think it's just frustrating because this isn't the first time that I've had to physically come to City Hall and present, here's a map, here's my address, it says I'm in boundary lines. And now it's unfortunate because they just had the tryouts for all the kids. And my daughter, my oldest daughter, will be on 8U this year, and she didn't get to participate in that because there was a hold on our names. And I just don't think it's fair that my children are being denied that when we literally live in the,
Do you
We
guys,
do everything in Escalon. We
Hold on.
don't go to Oakdale.
hold on just for
4
one
miles
second.
from Escalon, we're 7.
Do you guys have a problem with?
Right.
I think we need to bring it back and
We're not really supposed to.
I know, that's
But
what I'm saying.
I do think we should bring it back and discuss maybe changing it to modify where we allow those who are in Escalon Unified School District boundaries for recreational sports and also include anyone that's in the school district boundaries.
That wasn't the intention.
Yeah, no, that wasn't our intention and we're trying to make it as fair as possible. Yeah, and so maybe we need
Is there
to,
a way that
we can
in
clarify.
the future, it's like.
That's what I'm saying. We'll bring this back, discuss, and possibly, maybe we can discuss and see if we can change the code that would reflect Escalon Unified School District boundary students to participate in recreational sports.
Are
Love to
they,
hear it.
are your
Okay.
kids playing
I
now?
tried. I tried.
But
But
I mean, are they,
Play, come on.
The
is there,
problem was, I didn't want to pay the $120 fee. For both of my kids to play, it would have been like $400.
I get what you're coming at. You're talking about baseball, softball, right?
Yeah, so I have a T-baller and an 8U.
It hasn't started yet, so
No.
hold tight. Is there any way we could retroactively fix that?
Yeah, I mean, council can approve.
Talking about a couple kids.
Yeah, council can approve one-offs as we've done with fee deferrals or anything like that. And you could probably just do it here. If there's a desire to kind of open up what was approved prior, we can certainly do that as well.
I'd like to get consensus to fix the situation for them but bring it back like Pro Tem said to fix the language. So
Let's get it exact this time.
Get it right this time around. So
I think we need to take into account children that are homeschooled too. We don't want to lose that avenue as well. So
I'll lend for consensus
Well,
with the mayor.
yeah.
okay, we have consensus then. All right, hang in there. We're gonna figure it out. Any other? Hold on one sec. She's beating you to it.
Figure it out.
Past my bedtime. Good grief. First of all, thank you, city workers. Please pat them all on the back and thank them. I agree, we were working really, really hard. You've all seen the social media posts where the kids love the trash man and they go out and they love on the trash man. Forget it. Okay, come on Sacramento when the street sweeper comes by. Oh my gosh, she has a love affair with the street sweeper. And they just make goo-goo eyes at each other. So anyway, I don't know who's doing it, but he notices that she comes out and it's great. Anyway, makes my day. Okay, now that that's done, I'm not looking for comments. I'm not looking for feedback. I'm not. I need you to hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, I need you to hear what I have to say. All right, sorry, I'm going to pull an age card. You were given a report tonight from a committee, a volunteer committee. And you've asked them to do this and they're volunteers, okay? You need to hear what they've said. People in this community, number one, they were irritated that money was spent before the committee was started and you just hear it and accept it. It's a fact, okay?
Yeah, I'm not closing my ears.
All right. So no comments are necessary, but you need to understand that there's a lot of people that were upset by that, okay? A lot of them. And so the information that you were given in that report is very accurate. My next comment is not a personal attack, but you really need to understand what I'm saying. You have volunteers who gave a presentation, and a couple of the questions that were asked were actually already answered in the presentation. And if you want someone to fill that third seat, one, don't try to micromanage it. Two, consider how you approach in your comments that you make, because it didn't come across well at all, not even a little bit, from where I'm sitting. And third, about the comment with the police department and your little operation that's coming, don't worry, nobody's going to watch this anyway, so you can get away with it. Okay, good night.
Thank you for your input, Sherry. Anyone else? Real?
I have a serious concern about the alleyway on First Street that past Pioneer before James that backs to the side of my house. I have resident neighbors there that is a young family with young children. It's an interesting alley because their actual garage and parking space for their home that they own is in the alley. They have to come in and out of the alley to access it. The next two homes also have their garage in the alley. However, they don't utilize it for the purposes of vehicles coming in and out. They have front yard, I believe, driveways for sure, but maybe even garages that extend to the front yard that they use, which are off of Pioneer. The remaining units are towards Park and the alley and Park, and they are duplexes that are rentals. They're not the owners, they're not homes, they're rentals. We had an incident a couple of weeks ago. If you're in the alley, and Justin, you're very familiar with the layout of it, my neighbor's bushes extend into the alley. It also, their vehicle parking extends beyond the bushes into the alley. Their young child was there while the mom, who has 3 young children, was getting the other 2 in the car. Vehicle came flying in from First Street down the alley. I happened to be in my backyard. I saw the vehicle. There were rocks flying up onto where I was, which is over my 6-foot fence. So that just gives you an idea of the rate of speed. This child could have been injured severely as a result. There is no care for these vehicles. It is specifically they reside at the very end of the alley at Park. I have no idea why they insist on driving towards us to get in and out on First when they can go on Park. It has become incredibly dangerous alley to be in. The way that the property owner next to me's bushes are set up, they extend, I think they're about 5 feet tall, all the way to the sidewalk. There is no clearance for the owner to get out and safely exit onto First Street and see oncoming traffic coming from McHenry. They almost got into a collision the other day with this same vehicle flying down First Street and just right into the alley. You can go and see, as a result, there are huge, like tire almost potholes that are made from this rapid entrance on such a sharp turn. It has become incredibly dangerous. And again, they don't have an option other than to park on the street, and their children are all under the age of 5. They have to get in their vehicle via this alley. I know it's a stretch. There are currently no signs in the alley other than the fact that it says you cannot park, just randomly in the alley. I'm asking for some sort of solution. Ideally, what we would like, and it would hypothetically be on our own property, is to install at our cost one of those kind of like triangular metal gates that is not locked. So the city officials and fire and ambulance still have access, but it becomes not a thoroughfare for the people at the other end. If that's not realistic, it's hard to put one-way signs because this family's home is literally right at the entrance. So they come in one way and go out, the same. So those signs wouldn't really be applicable. I can't say that we can go down to the property owners and say that their renters need to go out and in on Park. I don't know if that would be legal, but we have to we could have lost a child's life here.
Have you spoke to the renters, the people that are actually speeding? Or this problem?
We have not, and there's great reason behind that.
Okay.
But again, they've been there almost as long as I've owned my home, and I know that one of the drivers is, I don't know I think he's high school. He might be around 18 or whatnot. There's not a sense of care. They don't own these properties, so it's, you know, it's not like me and my neighbor who we own our property. And this is beyond past years where it's rocks flying up and there's, you know, big divots in the ground. This is excessive speed and my neighbor shouldn't have to cut his.
I get what you're saying. We're hitting our 5 minutes, but hold set for a sec. Yeah, you think, you and, council, city manager and chief could figure it out? We'll figure out what we can and can't do and then kind of bring it back to us. And I mean, it may
Yeah.
be as simple as a conversation, but it may also, you know, require some, signage or not. So, I was hoping that maybe you guys could bring a solution to us.
Yeah, we can look. I think we've looked at this a little bit in the past.
Have you?
Nothing is, you know, immediately coming to mind in terms of things that fix drivers.
Yeah, well, sometimes a
We'll
young kid,
give
just
it-
simple conversation, and, you know.
That goes a long way sometimes, but we can look at it and see if there's anything that can be done.
Okay, appreciate it.
Could we do this in a timely manner? Just because this is an everyday occurrence?
We can get back to you by next council meeting.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything for staff? No? Okay, we'll bring it back. Nothing online, right? Back to the dais. Any last statements before we push on?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, could I request a quick restroom recess?
Yeah. Well, go to the bathroom if you have to. Huh?
It's good.
Do it.
Well, you're about to beat me to it.
All right, that's the,
We got two. There's one in here.
there shouldn't be bushes in the alley though. Somebody does need to cut the bushes from the alley.
Bushes in here.
Software for the rec. We have to find a way to put in a code.
It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't, the software doesn't
You put in
work
your zip
for
code.
registration.
You put in what school you go to.
We could
She's
use
not gonna be able to
Luca.
use the software.
We can use the Luca registry. That I think is the only way we can do it. And so basically,
I'm still-
we'll have the Luca set up where we just pull all the addresses in
All right.
well, I guess Luca's on census tract, but
The problem
find a
is
way to
she's
get-
still on a hold.
Yeah.
She could have shown, I'm in Escalon Unified School District, and it could have been, oh, okay, and you're clear. But because that's not in code, that the district boundaries is one of the things to be considered, that's the problem. And so if we put it in
Software
code,
to identify it. You may have to just come up with a special code, or even if you just put a zip code.
and that'll include everybody that we need it to include.
Software still won't take that.
It'll get there. Hey, hello?
We're just now getting into the meeting.
Yeah.
We're now at the meeting. Yeah.
Hey, Councilman Kay?
What are you making back there, Sherry? What are you making back there?
Trouble.
No.
I'm done.
Oh, what'd you make?
That's what I'm saying.
What'd you make? Nice.
All right, let's move on to, so public hearings. And this is something we don't vote on or we do vote on? Always forget that.
Yeah, so this is introduce and waive. Council can provide direction, and then there is a second meeting where it goes into full adoption.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to number 7, city manager.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thanks for being patient, everyone.
So as was just mentioned, this is to introduce and waive a potential first reading of ordinance that would basically add a chapter to the Escalon Municipal Code regarding additives to the public water supply. And you will see in the agenda package, we do have the ordinance in there. We actually have an updated copy for council's reference on the dais. But basically and online or available on the screen right now. Essentially what the ordinance does, Escalon is not an agency that must fluorinate the water, must treat it with fluoride. That's for 10,000 service connections or more. We have a little less than 2,500 service connections currently. But what this ordinance, as directed by the council in a prior meeting, was to look at ever treating with fluoride. And so the way the ordinance is drafted, it essentially requires that the council hold some sort of public meeting, community workshop of the like, anytime there were to be an action to go towards treating the water with any additive, or an entity that we were partnering with was to treat their water. And so it's basically opening up for a community conversation before any such action. And so that is essentially the long and the short of the staff report. We can answer any questions that the council may have about anything specific, or talk about it further if desired.
I don't have any questions at this time. Does anyone else have a question at the dais? Any questions out, community? Yeah, we got one. All right.
I'd like to speak to it.
Yeah, we got, is it 5 minutes? Is it saying, 5 minutes, sorry.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Elizabeth DeMichaels. I practice dentistry in Modesto, and I'm an assistant professor at California North State University School of Dental Medicine. I grew up in Escalon, where my family has farmed since the 1890s. We proudly continue to farm here today. Deciding what goes into our water is no decision to be taken lightly. I'm here today with information provided to me for tonight from the California Dental Association and the American Dental Association to help guide your decision with facts from evidence-based research. A national toxicology report with studies based mainly out of China and India is often used as a reason to not adjust fluoride levels in water systems. But if you're going to cite that report, make sure to read and understand it in its entirety. The study was done at twice the level of fluoride recommended for water systems for optimal effect. Too much of anything, including water itself, isn't good for you. I would suggest you refer instead to the studies out of New Zealand, Spain, and Australia that showed fluoride in water adjusted to the suggested optimal level showed no cognitive deficits. Fluoride is a naturally occurring mineral found in lakes, rivers, and groundwater. So having fluoride in water is not a new concept. Mother Nature put it there. Studies have found that with the right balance of fluoride in water, cavities can be reduced by about 25%. We just need to help Mother Nature to reach that optimal amount. Tooth decay is the most common chronic disease for adults and children in the United States. This impacts school absences, missed work, and difficulty in finding employment. Imagine going to a job interview with a grossly decayed front tooth. Imagine trying to take an exam or run for that winning touchdown while your tooth is aching. I think we can all agree we value health for ourselves and for others. In 2011, Calgary, one of Canada's largest cities, removed fluoride from the drinking water. They soon reversed that decision after seeing a significant rise in tooth decay rates. 63% of US residents have optimally adjusted fluoridated water. This is not a unique concept. In 1974, Congress passed the Safe Drinking Water Act. The EPA takes this act seriously, as they should. The EPA ensures that additives used in drinking water meet specific established safety standards. The FDA does not regulate public water systems, so they neither approve or disapprove of additives to our drinking water. I get that many feel that adjusting fluoride levels in water is like mass medication, and they don't trust the government to get it right. I don't always trust the government to get it right either. But the reality is that adjusting fluoride levels in water is not new science. It is based off of over 80 years of research. Studies show it reduces cavities, especially with our most vulnerable, the elderly and the young, and most especially with those facing access to care issues. Issues such as lack of dental knowledge, limits on transportation, and inability to afford toothpaste or a toothbrush. Yes, that is an issue. Is adjusting fluoride levels in our drinking water taking away our personal choice? Not at all. It's like adding iodine to salt or vitamin D to milk. You can choose the benefit or you can choose something else. You can still choose to use a water filtration system at your home or purchase bottled water if you prefer. I've practiced for over 30 years and have volunteered at over 25 donated dental clinics. I've conducted dental screenings for school-aged children and adults. I've seen people in pain. I've seen people ashamed to smile. I've seen children with dental abscesses. I've had to tell a struggling single mother that her 9-year-old child had to have a root canal on her 6-year molar. I've also had to tell young people, like people in their early 30s, that they need dentures. That's a hard conversation. Dental health isn't just my job, it's my passion, because nobody should suffer pain or disgrace from a preventable disease. And yes, dental decay is a preventable disease. It's not about taking away your choice, it's about helping another. I thank you for your time and have packets for you with more detailed information on what I presented this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Anyone else have anything else they'd like to add?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Pam Killingsworth, and I agree with everything she said. I'm a dental hygienist. I've been in dentistry for over 40 years. I've been a hygienist for 38. I've worked in many dental clinic settings. I've worked with children. I've worked with elderly. I've volunteered, worked mainly with family practice now. I've been with for 23 years. I've seen children be born and go to college. I've seen people from other communities that have fluoridation versus ours that doesn't. San Joaquin County recent survey showed that we have the highest rate of dental decay of any county in the state. We need water fluoridation. Cities over 10,000 populace are required to have water fluoridation if they're offered the machinery and ability to fluoridate. We're nowhere near that. It's not a threat to us if people want the choice not to fluoridate. I don't think the decision to fluoridate should be made by individual councils or small groups of people. I think it should be made by the populace itself once it becomes educated about the need. 70% of the populace of the United States fluoridates its water. The history of fluoridation started in Michigan when a dentist in 1900 decided that he was noticing differences amongst the teeth in different locations. They figured out it came from the water, so they did research after that that showed that there was a big difference, and eventually they did a study where they implemented fluoride in Michigan in a city and then did a control study and found out that it reduced decay by 60% just by putting fluoride in the water. It's considered the number one most effective public health measure there is compared to any other public health measure. It's really made a huge difference. We have fluoridation in Sacramento, we have fluoridation in the Bay Area, we have fluoridation in Southern California, we even have fluoridation in Los Banos. There was a study that came out, it was a metadata analysis that kind of stirred things up. Once we ended up with a new person in charge of our health of the United States, it became well known, and this is something that has been questioned because the study that she talked about, where it was done in India and China, and it was done at twice the levels of fluoride that that we have for optimum levels here. So it was toxic. And then there were some other things that came up. They weren't very well done studies and small group studies. And they also found that there were other things that might have interfered without it being just fluoride, arsenic, and some other things that might have to do with the cognitive decline of the infants. It was an infant thing that they said there was some IQ problems with the children. And so this is the study that everything's being referred to. Many people are a little bit nervous about water fluoridation. It's well proven. It's been used for many, many years. It's natural. It's in the water. They have to defluoridate because anything at a high level, higher than the optimum therapeutic dose, is going to be toxic. A bottle of aspirin is toxic, but one is not. We add vitamin D to milk. We add thiamine, riboflavin, niacin to bread. We add iodine to salt. We add things because they prevent public health diseases, and there's reasons for it. If it's done properly and it's done in the proper and doses that aren't harmful, then I think that we should leave it open to the public, make the decision. And then when you really look at the organizations that support it, and even just recently reaffirmed its support, American Dental Association, American Dental Hygiene Association, American Medical Association, American Pediatrics Association. There's multiple high-level organizations who inform our profession with research that we have to use as standards of care for what the decisions and what we do in our clinics. And they are the ones responsible for the research and the support, and that's who we look towards. They're supporting water fluoridation, even in spite of this recent study. So
Hey, we're getting close, so we'll have to finish up because you get 5 minutes for each
how
person.
much more do I have?
You're past it, but you can finish up.
Okay, I just want to say a little bit about my clinical experience. I have patients who now are having difficulty getting treatment. I have special needs patients that I've seen for years that aren't verbal, that need help, that I see on a regular basis every 3 months because nobody's brushing their teeth. Nobody's giving them the care that they need. They need to see a dentist. My dentist can't see them because they're not capable of sitting in a chair for a length of time to be able to have their treatment done. That's the person who needed the water fluoridation. They're the ones that need the 60% reduction in decay in their mouth. She's not able to get treatment for 2.5 years because has a heart problem and she has to have a cardiologist, and the state isn't making it available to her. By the time 2.5 years goes by, her teeth are bombed. Nobody's brushing her teeth. She's got decay everywhere. The dentist I work with isn't able to treat her. What are we going to do? This is happening everywhere now.
we're having trouble accessing medical treatment for cancers to get in within a reasonable amount of time. That's not going to be looking better in the future. I also see children, I've seen elderly patients who mouths aren't being taken care of. There is no dental and nursing care homes. These people cared for their teeth all their lives. They have full mouths of teeth. Now they're not pulling teeth like they used to. We have elderly people who are in need of dental services that aren't getting them. It's horrific. I worked in a place, it was in Oakdale. There was a dentist working for, it was a community services, public health that was funded by the government to try to make access to care. She had to contract with a nursing care place. And so they would bring the patients over. They weren't getting any care, none whatsoever. Those are the people who need the fluoride in the water. It's excreted in the saliva an hour after it's been taken, and then it's there for about 15 hours at a level that's safe. It coats the teeth. Decay happens because it dissolves the minerals out of teeth. The saliva has minerals in it. It goes back into the teeth. The fluoride enhances that, and it creates even a denser surface on the enamel than you would have.
I don't want to interrupt you, but we have to do 5 minutes per person.
I'm sorry. But
It's okay. I'm just saying, can you wrap it up for?
As long-term dental professionals, we see it clinically. We can see the difference in people that have had fluoride and those that haven't. And there is a reduction, and it is a really great public measure, and especially for children from 0 to 8 is when it's the most beneficial systemically. So I am totally in support of fluoride, and I will continue to be. And I'm really hoping that everybody else can look at it that way. But I do appreciate your time, and thank you so much for letting me speak. A little nervous. Haven't done this before, so hope you
Appreciate your
understand.
input, as always, and
Okay.
thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else have anything else they want to bring on this matter? So I guess we'll bring it back, nothing online, right? Okay, we'll bring it back to the dais. So I personally think that we should always be having dialogue. Any additive that comes should be brought in front of the community before it's put into our water. I don't care what it is. So we may disagree on that part or not, but I think it's, people need to know what's potentially being given to them. And that's what this ordinance is. As much as you're passionate on your side, there's quite a few people that are passionate on the other side. And that's why you have to have conversations that are open and transparent conversations so that everyone puts their input in. And that's kind of where my stance is on this. There's things like, for example, FAN, who just won their 8-year legal battle with fluoride. I'm sure you're aware of that. And against the EPA. So that tells us clearly that there's two sides of this conversation. So what I'm simply asking for in this situation is that moving forward, that any decision, whether it's fluoride or anything else that gets put in our water, is brought to the forum, is I guess what I'm looking at. So that's my input on it. Does anyone else have anything?
My understanding is much the same. The idea here is not to remove something that we currently have in our water. We do not have it in our water currently, and have no intention of moving forward with it anytime soon. The object here is, should any additive be proposed to be put into our drinking water, that it give us the opportunity to discuss it here in this chamber, the community to be able to come to the podium and tell us how they feel about it. That's simply what this ordinance does, is gives the opportunity to make sure that nothing gets added to our water without public input, the opportunity for public input.
Any other thoughts up here?
I realize I'm not allowed to talk anymore, but
Yeah.
I do think we should ask Public Works, what is the fluoride level? Because there's naturally occurring, and I believe it's 0.2 in your wells.
It is point.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that, just to set the.
Yeah, there's Mother Nature's there. You're talking about adding.
Yeah, we're talking about additives.
Yeah,
This conversation is specific to additives.
yeah, I get it. I understand to read scientific papers as well, so I get it. Okay. Any other stuff up here? Any other input? Okay. Well, I guess if we have consensus to move it to an actual vote at some point, a conversation.
My consensus.
Anyone else?
Just to read a whereas in the updated ordinance, I think it's the 2, 4, 6, 8, 9th whereas. Whereas in the event the city considers any change that involves fluoridation to the city's public water system, the city's residents desire to be informed before any such change and to make their views on water additives known to the city council. So again, it's really set up, any change to an additive to the water requires a public hearing. And so the code would change, section 13.04480, public hearing before acceptance of fluoridated water, for public water supply required before the city council may make formal findings as required in section blah, blah, blah. The city council must hold a public hearing and solicit the views of the city's residents on the addition of fluoride to the city's public water supply.
I don't know how the rest of the council feels. I appreciate you both taking the time to come before the meeting tonight. And candidly, I mean, I think it's important that we as a council, if you recall, on the December 1st meeting, I specifically asked the question, where is the evidence? Where do we have the information that shows us that fluoride is harmful to children? And I remember you cracked a joke because I said, I drank water with fluoride, and you said, well, that's pretty obvious. But I think it's important. I mean, there's no set deadline when we have to adopt this by. I mean, it's not like Public Works is just dumping fluoride tomorrow in the water. I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but I think it's important that we review the research that was provided to us. And I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but I think now that we have, no offense to your career,
Not offensive at all.
but I think it's important.
It's a conversation.
Right. I think that it's important that we at least stop, take the time, take into account what's been noted into the record, read the research, and then come back. And then if the council feels at that point we move it forward, then we move it forward. But I think it's, like you said, it's a conversation. We stop, take a breather, read the research, do our own research based off of this, and then go from there. So I don't know how the council feels, but would you consider tabling this discussion for one meeting just to allow us to?
I don't have a problem with it. I'm not trying to steamroll anything.
Right.
I'm just looking at, what I see in front of me as far as recent lawsuits that have come forth that, the EPA has lost.
And that's.
I'm just curious if we're all reading the same thing here, right? For introducing and waiving the first,
We'll introduce
right?
it.
We're introducing and we're reading it. I'm just curious. So what we're asking for is that the public has input. And so what we're saying is if anybody wants to add anything to the water, which isn't added to, then we have to hold a public hearing. So there is input. So that's all we're saying is before you put anything
That's
in
it.
the water, everybody gets a chance to talk about it, which I think is super imperative that everybody gets to say, what goes in the water, whether they agree with one side of the aisle or not. Everybody should get the input. And that's what we're doing right now. We're introducing and waiving the first reading of an ordinance so that we can get that information. There's no other decisions that are being made. We're not saying you can't put fluoride in. We're not saying you can't put arsenic in. We're just saying you can't put anything in unless we notify the public and that there's a hearing regarding any potential additives to our water.
I 100% respect what you're saying, Councilmember Engel. I guess where I am conflicted is the term fluoride. Because the term fluoride is so controversial these days.
We could change the additive.
Well, I guess,
Same thing.
I guess, would the council be agreeable to not specifically highlight fluoride? Because we just heard from two dental professionals that there are benefits to fluoride. If you change,
There's benefits to fluoride. I don't think
Okay.
anyone argues that.
so maybe we change, can this be rewritten to any additives into the water supply and not specifically calling out fluoride?
I'm fine with that. I don't have.
How
an issue
do
with
the
that.
rest of the council feel about that?
I'd like to just make one comment, just for everybody's understanding, regardless if you're for fluoride or you're not for fluoride. We do live in California, and we are highly regulated by the state of California and our water department. I would not be allowed to add anything unless I had approval through the state, much less the city or the residents. You can at any time go on the city websites and look at the CCR, and you can look at all the things that are tested for, the contaminant levels of those as well. So just want everybody to just know that, if they're not aware of that, that regardless of what decisions are made, we are extremely highly regulated by the state of California, what we can and can't do to the water.
I appreciate that, Justin. Just know that I don't trust the government. Okay. So I could care less what the state says.
Well, and to that point, Mr. Mayor, I think it's important to note that we are all aware of the crazy laws that the state of California comes up with. What if the state of California says everybody needs to add fluoride? At least if this ordinance is in place, it's more restrictive, and this will force the conversation.
That's all I want, is the conversation needs to be, there's clearly, if it's bad enough to be in a lawsuit, there's clearly two sides of the aisle. And when that happens, there needs to be a public forum for that conversation to happen, is what I'm getting at.
Well, if it's bad enough, the federal government has lost a lawsuit over it. There's obviously something wrong there.
So,
I'm just can I just say something?
yeah.
Okay. First of all, fantastic presentation. You guys did a great job. And so this does have to do, on my perspective, about additives and the force of government's hand of additives, whether they are good or bad to you. And I know that it was mentioned that it's cost prohibitive for some to get fluoride, and this is the reason why we want fluoride in the water. However, I do feel that it's more cost prohibitive if there's added fluoride in the water to take the fluoride out. It is more cost to buy bottled water, or if you don't want it coming out of your shower, it is more cost prohibitive to get water without fluoride in it than it is to get a toothbrush and toothpaste, which maybe that's what the government should be provided to every household instead of water to every household with fluoride in it. So that's more of it, is forcing, whether it's good or bad. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a dentist. I have read both sides, and I know that there's both sides.
What you're saying
So,
makes sense, but I guess what I'm looking at is there's such a discrepancy in where is that line?
No, and that's what I'm saying, is
So-
I agree. I agree that I
That
don't
should
want
be
the
an
government
individual decision.
deciding what is good or bad for me, and putting it in the water. And I do want that as a private, a private choice. And for some of those people that do need it but can't brush their teeth, like you were saying, you have some, and they do have, fluoride drops to put in your water if you are a person, and those are prescriptive and all of that. So there's answers to these problems that don't involve 100% of the people being forced to have an additive out of their tap water, I think. So I don't know if that came out clearly or not.
Yeah, I understand. what you're saying. I'm just looking
But
at,
I think it's government overreach to put anything in our water that we don't personally ask for.
Okay, so to that point, Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
how do you feel about removing the specific reference for fluoride per se and just refer to it as any additive is worth?
anything additional to the water should be something that is talked about in a public forum. And the best answer will come to the top. And that's what will happen. But if we avoid it and Justin's like,
I know he's out
You
there
know what I
pouring
mean?
stuff in
Like-
the water, but
that, you don't want the perception of that. It
Right.
should never happen. The public should be involved in all these conversations.
absolutely.
I think additives is pretty broad. Justin,
Yes, sir.
what do we add to our water for sanitization as we
The only
speak?
thing that we add to our water is chlorine tablets.
Chlorine only? So
Yes,
is
sir.
that'd be an additive, right? So,
Yes, sir.
so
Okay,
now all of
so
a sudden, do we have to take that to the town because we're sanitizing the water?
I think moving forward, there has to be. a
It's an additive.
Well, yeah, moving forward, if you would like to get like very specific about chlorine, that's fine with me. Otherwise, I would say, moving forward, not looking at things retroactively, looking at things moving forward. Anything that's new being added to the water should be, in my opinion, brought to the front of the line, and people should be talking about it like we are. Otherwise, what ends up happening is you find out that you've got some major heart issue, or you got some other problem, or you're using Roundup and Monsanto's been hiding it for 20 years. This is the kind of crap that happens. So unfortunately, it needs to be brought up in a public venue, in my opinion, so that people who are paying attention, the average Joe that cares about their health a lot, can look at it and go, okay, they're adding this. Do I want to be a part of this or do I not? That's what I'm getting at.
I think it has to do with choice. And if there was I could turn on the water here and it was fluoridated, and I could turn it on here and it was not fluoridated, then I would have no problem with that. But because there's not that freedom of choice, that's the problem is just the freedom of choice. So.
Hold on one sec. Anything else you wanted to, Councilman Engel, anything?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, anyone? Yeah, go for it.
We need to reopen the public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry. I got to reopen a public hearing just for for a comment. That's fine. But it can't be very long. It just it's the structure of, it's not me, it's the structure of how it's done.
Melinda Walker.
Yes.
My comment about that is that we already have things that are mandated that are added to our food supplies that protect us against diseases, the iodine and salt. The other things I mentioned, vitamin D and calcium to milk, those are mandated by the federal government. That prevents disease. It's really not a lot different than that.
I don't agree with those either. So-
Well, it's really hard to find milk without vitamin D in it, but.
I know it is. Yeah.
So, yeah, there are some things that are for the greater good, and that's just the point that I wanted to
I
make.
guess the big.
Oh, no, I understand the point. You guys did, you did a great job, and I get the point, and I'm not necessarily against your point of view. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. I just like the freedom of choice. And I don't like those additives either.
It is a point of view.
Yes, it is a point of view. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for small conversation.
Small comment. Okay,
It's got to be very short.
it's very short, I promise. Okay, isn't this just simply to say, to pass something to say that if we're going to add an additive, we're going to bring it and we're going to have this conversation?
Yes.
Okay, can we just vote on that?
That's what we're
Because-
trying to do.
Okay, because talking about fluoride, that's not the issue. The issue is, we've got an ordinance that says, that we want to pass that says, if something happens, we'll have this conversation.
Yeah.
So, and the last meeting we had, you heard from a lot of people that said, let's get this done, so.
But
Yeah.
Sherry, if you read what's on the screen, it specifically references fluoride. That's what I'm trying to say. We strike the reference to fluoride.
Which, oh, sorry. Gabrielle. Yeah, just, we got to keep it short though.
Can we remove the calcium? It's destroying all my fixtures.
I also would like
Water
to.
softener in your house will take care of it.
Just real quick.
I promise it's last. I would
Real
be
quick.
happy if you took out the word fluoride
Yeah,
and just say
I have no
any
problem with
new additives, because I think you're demonizing fluoride. And I appreciate your opinion. I just see so much decay when I go to these.
Yeah, I understand.
And so, but I do appreciate your opinion. But if we could do the suggestion, I'd be happy.
All right, so closing it down.
We will.
Okay.
We will follow council direction. And we can set up maybe, I've looked at the ordinance, the revised ordinance. I think we can set up the first section. There is a difference between fluoride and other additives because fluoride is sort of a sanctioned and approved additive in many, like between 2/3 and 3/4 of the US population has fluoride. And so I think there's got to be some specific call out because it is this sanctioned additive. At least addressed in the whereases of the.
I would agree. If I was going specifically at fluoride, I would have to reference the recent litigation that just got through. I'm sure you guys are aware of that has to do with fluoride. Otherwise, we're not doing that right now. We're doing additives, and I think that I'm fine with that. I think the intention is to bring it to the forum so that people can know what the heck's going on. That's it.
And it's,
Okay.
Am I understanding that correctly from what you just said versus what Jalen said? Jalen's saying to call out fluoride specifically and for a specific reason, if that's what we want to do, and you're saying change it to additive?
Well, it's a moot point regardless, because what we're looking at is additives. So whether it's fluoride or whether it's anything else, so like say you play that card out, right?
Yeah.
It goes up, we're gonna add fluoride in the water because we've hit 10,000 people.
Yeah.
That then kicks in this conversation that people know what's going on. We have the conversation and it goes from there. It would be the same thing whether it was, I don't know.
So for the
Like
sake
you
of
said,
sanity,
arsenic
can we
or
just
whatever.
waive this one and move on? And then if
That's what I'm
somebody
saying.
wants to do additives, like.
I would
suggest that and bring it back to another
propose,
council item?
I would propose if you could waive it with the consensus, remove the fluoride part and move it forward.
Okay, so do we need consensus on that? How does that work?
That's what I was
to move
asking.
forward?
If we have consensus, I would propose.
Council?
I mean, a lot of
Mr.
the word
Attorney,
fluoride is in here, and maybe it can be additives and then to include fluoride.
Yeah, that's fine because
Yeah.
fluoride's one of those additives.
Right.
Yeah. I'm fine with it.
What do we need to move forward, Mr. Attorney?
So I believe what Jalen was suggesting was to revise just the recitals, not the actual ordinance that we're proposing to change, correct?
I was providing some background information that fluoride is different than other additives because it is one that is commonly in waters and in fact is a pseudo requirement once you get past a certain level of
Correct.
connections. I don't think we're ever going to get there, at least not in
I
many of
guess,
our lifetimes.
how does that affect us? Like, I guess what I mean is if you turn it to additives, like Councilman Stroman's saying, how would that affect the conversation? It wouldn't, right? Because that's going to come to the forefront anyway.
Yeah, it'd just be a shorter ordinance.
That's what I'm saying. Just keep it simple, right?
well,
If it's,
and I think, I can't speak for you, Mayor, or you, Councilmember Kay, but I think after what Sherry mentioned at the last meeting, the purpose of this ordinance is not to call out and say that fluoride is bad because, well, there's two sides of that coin. There's those that think fluoride is bad. Some things fluoride is good. The point of this ordinance is just to make the public aware if another additive was to be put in the water. That's it. It's not saying that doesn't differentiate between the good fluoride and the bad fluoride. It's just bringing a public awareness to something may be added to the water and that triggers a public hearing and we talk about it, or the next council talks about it. I think that's the intent, correct?
yeah. I think
that's
that,
been the intent all along, is that we just want to be able to have a conversation about it before anything is put in our city water supply. So can we get consensus to move this thing forward and move on to our next item?
I would like to move this thing forward and consider our next item.
Okay, so I would recommend we actually take a vote on that on the first reading and provide the direction that for the second reading, we'll come back with the revised language to make it clear that we're talking about all additives
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to introduce and waive the first reading of ordinance number XXX, adding chapter XX additives to public water supply, to Title 8 Health and Safety of the Escalon Municipal Code, restricting use of fluoride in city water treatment processes and restricting acceptance of water from outside source treated with fluoride, with the stipulations that we have made to essentially remove all direction as far as fluoride and mark this as additives and any additive that is not currently being put in our water supply.
Yeah, I would, can I second? I don't think. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I would second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. And one nay. Okay. All right, so let's go on to number 8. Number 8.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is to consider resolution increasing the construction contract amount for Well 1A improvement project awarded to Conco West, Inc. to 3682415 and aligning the contract amount with the updated DWSRF loan authorization approved on November 6th. And as you know, no plan survives the battlefield. As soon as council agreed to award this contract to Conco West on September 5th, 2023, through the design build process, they identified several changes that needed to be made. All of these changes were brought to the council's attention for approval and were subsequently approved in November. These changes include connecting to MID instead of PG&E, as well as changing many of the systems to meet regulatory requirements. And because those were already changed, this is simply a cleanup item asking council permission to now align the contract with Conco West to those change orders. So that's the item before you tonight, and staff recommends approval of the resolution.
Any questions for city manager or for economic development up here? Any questions from the city, our citizens? No? Anyone online? No? We'll bring it back. Any last comments or questions before we do something about this?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution XX-26, increasing the construction contract amount for the Well 1A improvement project awarded to Conco West on September 5th, 2023, amending the not to exceed amount from $2,918,270 to $3,682,415, consistent with the updated drinking water state revolving fund financing authorization approved by the city council on November 6, 2023.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay. We'll go on to number 9.
Thank you, Mayor. The next two items are items raised by the council. The first one is in regards to considering city council term limits and further considering council compensation. So staff did research in the region, 11 other jurisdictions, ranging in size from 25,000 to a little less than 6,000, both in terms of term limits and council compensation. And we do have charts on the second page and third page of the staff report with that information. So it is shown here in the blue chart that no city that we polled and none that we're aware of under sort of the 25, 30, 40, 50,000 population has term limits. Cities in the region that do are larger. Stockton, Tracy, Modesto do have term limits for their council members. But the smaller cities that we're aware of and that we polled do not currently have term limits. Now, as you get to council compensation, in 86, the city council did approve an ordinance that set the rate. It's been adjusted a couple of times, but nominally over the years. It is currently set at $300 per month. you can see on the next chart that there's much more variation in terms of council compensation as compared to term limits with the same group of 11 jurisdictions. Some provide healthcare benefits for their council members, and at the sort of bottom of the list, some pay their council members $150 a month. And so, and there's really a wide range in between. We've tried to sort of rank these in terms of most pay or most benefits to least. And so what you'll see at the top is the most well-paid council members. You can see it generally lines up with size, but not exactly. So it's council chosen, of course, in each of those jurisdictions. City of Escalon, sort of middle of the pack there. You can see there are 3 other jurisdictions that have the same rate for their mayors and council members, with Houston just slightly different, with their council making $250 and their mayor making $300 or being paid $300. So you can see right kind of in the middle or towards the bottom, depending on, I guess, where you put that. State law actually regulates council compensation, and it's by bracket. And so if you go down just a little bit right there, maybe zoom in on that, you can see there's 5 or 6 different brackets. So populations under 35,000, which all of these jurisdictions are allowed to compensate their council members up to $950 per month. And then that pay amount increases as the population increases, and it's in brackets 35 to 50, 50 to 75, 75 to 150, and so on and so on. So you see anything that wanted to be adjusted here would have a limit at the $950 per month. That does not seem to include health benefits. It seems to just focus on the monetary compensation element. As you see, the healthcare benefits in the city of Dixon would put that well over the $950. So that is what we have found, again, on 10 or 11 other jurisdictions in the region, from San Joaquin County to Merced County, and then even into, Alameda, I believe, county. So kind of the counties that surround this county as well as our county. So we'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Oh, yeah, please.
Where are you starting?
Oh, please. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, staff, for providing that information. I think it's a great representation of what's wrong with government. Government, I don't care what elected position needs to have term limits, in my opinion. And that includes us. We heard lots through at least the last couple elections that I've been in town about how old timers and the guys who've been in there too long and all this kind of other stuff. I wasn't in that camp, as I kind of have some respect for those folks, but there is a portion of me that does believe that a evolving city needs evolving points of view. And the only way to get those evolving points of view is to reduce the amount of time that any individual can spend in an elected seat. My original thought hasn't really changed. It is 3 elected terms would be your maximum allowable time to serve. Those are my thoughts. And I want to address these one at a time because I have some additional statements for the pay. So if we can start with just the term limit portion, and then I'll move to my thoughts on compensation.
You did this with Kay, right?
I think it was you, sir.
Did I back you on this? I'm sorry.
I think that it
Those are my
was
marbles.
consensus for discussion.
It was consensus for discussion. That's what it was. Okay. Then I'll say something. I think that there should be term limits. I do think that term limits lead to a fresher dynamic. you can see what's happening at the top. You got people with walkers getting into the Congress. It literally needs that kind of stuff.
Congressman that's missed his last 500 votes.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that needs to be really looked at with scrutiny. It also, if you get a bad egg, so to speak, that can lead into corruption and all kinds of problems. And if they can go infinitely, that's a big deal. So my soapbox on it is, yeah, absolutely. I feel, the time frame I had in my head was like 3 or 4. But I don't know what the rest of the council feels on that.
Three puts you at least a decade.
Yeah. Yeah. There's 3 4-year terms, right?
With the occasional 2-year term, it does happen from time to time.
My original thought when this was brought up was for some sort of term limit, like the 3 or 4 terms. As I think about it though, it's only been 3 elections where we had candidates running unopposed. And my question would be, is if we didn't have enough people running, are we not allowing those who had already run again? And so that's where we're at, because we did have a couple of elections in a row where there was nobody there. It was unopposed, and it was people running over those 2 to 3 or 4 terms as well.
Let's hope we get some turnout from our city, but it is a good point. And I would think that they would be able to hold off for the additional 2 years until the next election cycle, because we do have election cycle every 2 years.
So in other words, giving more time, because you're right, you would only be left with no representative, all right? So it would make sense to have some sort of a, caveat there.
And we have short memories. And so in the last few elections, we have had more than enough candidates. However, we went for a very long time where we did not have any losers. We had exactly enough that we needed to run. And so and people did run unopposed for a very, very long time. And I love that everybody's enthusiastic in the last 4 years to run. But like I said before that, it was not commonplace for us to have very many people running for city council. And I think that's a discussion to have, is if we only have 4, what do you do with another? What are you doing?
I think that's a great point. And I think we had a lot of people that didn't run because of who they were running against. And they were like, how am I ever going to run against that guy? For example, we have our veterinarian and current mayor. If somebody were not as well known in town, be like, I'm not going to run against Andy. He's going to win for sure. So why even put my hat in the ring? But if Andy's termed out, well, now it's open for anybody. Just as an example.
Appreciate the kind words, but I don't know about that. Probably get pitchforks pretty soon.
So
any thoughts over here?
I just have a question for the attorney. Frank mentioned this previously, but if we talk about this, basically we're deciding to put it on the ballot because term limits need to go before the public, correct?
Correct. Term limits are an issue that has to go to the voters.
Okay.
So you're basically deciding on whether you as the council want to put it on the ballot. Separately, a voter initiative could be brought forward by the public to do the same thing, but term limits aren't something that you can just set as the council. Unlike the compensation piece, which is within the council's power to set.
But we can kind of set what that would look like to go to a ballot, right? That we want.
Yeah, you could,
and what that restriction was.
Yeah, you could propose a number of terms. If the council comes to the conclusion, we'd like to propose a term limit of 4 terms or 2 terms. You would kind of dictate what you're putting to the voters as far as the limit that's being proposed.
Councilmember Engel, you mentioned 3 terms. Are you saying 3 full terms?
Like 12 years.
Three elected terms. So you can be elected 3 times. That doesn't mean you can't take a break and come back. but that means it's.
Like an
somebody
interim,
else gets an
an
opportunity.
interim seat doesn't count, right?
Well, that's
If
what
you're
I'm
asking
asking.
if you would only get to serve 10 if you ran again, the answer is yes.
So
So that's the sort of detail you'd want to get into in your measure that you're putting to the voters, whether or not you have to take a break for one term, whether or not you have to take a break for 2 terms, whether a partial term counts as one of your term limit terms. That's the sort of nitty gritty detail that you want to get into to make sure you have a good, clear measure if you're going to put this in front of voters.
Is that something we have to decide right now?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
No.
good.
well, and to your point, actually, every point that was raised, I support the term limits. I guess my only,
Not as a time frame or the,
well, the thing that I'm thinking of is a maximum of 3 full terms, 3 full year terms, and then you're termed out.
and then.
But if you take, like, when I was elected the first time,
Uh,
I came on and I was on board for 2 years.
2 years.
And so the way that Councilmember Engel noted was that counts as an elected term. What I'm saying is if you cap it out at 3 full terms, 12 years max,
Yeah.
then you're termed out.
Well, I think that's what he's saying is those are the little details we can get into once we get the bigger picture of conversation done. So like, assuming we all are okay with with term limits, then that's when we would decide on the little stuff, right?
Well, and I don't want to belabor this point. It's 10 o'clock and we still have more items to talk about.
So you
But
believe in the term limits?
absolutely. And I think that we're doing so much and we're getting more people involved in government for the first time in a really long time. And I think that turnover and constantly getting new, fresh ideas, I can fully support.
Councilman Kay, what do you think?
I'm going to be the odd man out here.
Okay.
I am 100% for term limits at the federal level, at the state level. I am not for term limits on a town of 7,500 people. When you only have 7,500 people to pick from, at what point do you run out of good candidates where you are not putting quality people up here that make good, sound decisions? At some point, you run into the inevitability that you are going to have people sitting in these seats that maybe aren't as interested in actually doing it as the 5 of us may be right now, or past councils. You have, some great men, one sitting in the audience tonight, that have served multiple terms for us. And this is a service, 100% it is a service. If anyone is willing to do that for the length of time that some of our former council members are, I would hate to see them essentially put out to pasture for God only knows what you're going to get next. And that's just my personal opinion.
I see where your position is on that. I mean, maybe the thought is instead of 3 years, instead of 3 terms, it's 4 terms.
When you talk about 4 terms, former Mayor Owl standing up here, served 28 years up here. Of course, I will agree he's one of those guys I certainly wouldn't want to be running against. But at the end, he was ran against and lost his seat. When it came time, he did lose his seat. So I think that democracy plays out the way that it's supposed to. In a small town. Eventually, at some point or another, I think that you end up with either the wrong person being moved out or the right person being moved in. But I think the second you put a limitation on that, you're looking at the real possibility of having some terrible council members at some point, whether it's 1, 2, or even a majority, and they could send this thing swirling right down a toilet drain in a heartbeat.
Well, I respect your opinion, Councilmember Kay. I will just, for your information and the general public's information, I actually asked some former council members, not the gentleman sitting here tonight, because I know he's going to speak up about it. But the former council members that I talked to have indicated to me that their philosophy was if they couldn't accomplish what they couldn't accomplish in 12 years, then it was time to move on. And it was best for the city and for the residents to move on after that 12-year term, because there's fatigue that starts setting in at the 10, 11-year mark, and then 12 years comes up, and they've all said to me, 12 years. If I didn't accomplish what I needed to accomplish in 12 years, let somebody else fight the fight. So take that for what it's worth.
I just have one more clarification on how these term limits get implemented. So they would be implemented prospectively. So your current terms or however long you've been on the council as individuals wouldn't count towards any term limit that would be imposed in the future. That's written in the state law. So there's not really a way to, for the voters to legislate around that through an initiative.
Bigger than McCracken. Okay. Anyways, as much as I appreciate and respect your opinion as well, I do think that we should have some term limit. And maybe pushing that term limit out more, might allow for minimizing of that potential dead, scenario, because it is definitely a potential risk. I do see that. I guess part of it is being an educated voter. You got to look at that too. But, how do you get people with novel ideas or things in front of, new councils, I guess, is what I'm looking at. People, when you look at, because I think Ed's done a great job too, but when you look at things like, especially what you're seeing at the national level, you start looking at that, how can that trickle down? And you can see where it conceivably could be a problem. And I see what you're saying as well, but
Yeah, absolutely.
I think in my mind, I'm thinking, at least my thought is there should be at least some term limit.
I do want to state for the record, as the newest council member up here, this is not about my longevity in sitting in this seat.
Sure.
Don't even know if I'll be rerunning again 3 years from now. But happy to serve in the meantime. But I just looking at our past history and our population level alone, those are the two things that concern me about limiting who may or may not be able to run.
Understand.
So.
It's very suspicious. No, I'm just joking. Just joking.
I'm really curious what he has to say.
Yeah. Well, hold on one second.
I'm good.
Good?
It was
Okay.
a lively conversation.
We'll go out to the citizens, to the public. Yeah.
Procedure here. Councilman Kay, you're right on the money. We've had some of the best council people that have done the most work, most good for this city that were in for a long time. And there's a heck of a big difference between Sacramento and Washington.
True.
You're talking money behind whoever's there. You got favors that are being switched around all the time at that level. It doesn't happen in Escalon. Escalon knows who you are, what you do, and what you stand for, and that's what they vote on. That's goes back to the small population, and that's the way it should be. And what you're doing is you're restricting me as a voter on who I can't vote for. And that's the big thing that is bothering me, is if I want to vote for Mayor Hagan 10, 20 years, because I think he's been doing a heck of a good job, then I should be able to do that. You'll find most of the people in Escalon, there's some people that don't have a clue. And as far as fresh ideas, matters presented from the audience. You got this all the time. If somebody brings up an idea, you can work that into a workshop. You can do whatever you want with it. But the ideas, if they're going to bring up an idea, it will be here. And as far as the people that say 12 years is enough because they didn't accomplish what they had meant to, well, that's reason for them not to run and not to be reelected. So, and I was talking to Ed, and he brought him up as his longevity. He's of the same opinion. Hope he can quote me on that. He had to leave. He was dying.
How long did you serve, Gary?
I think I was either 20 or 24 years and about 4 or 5 on planning commission before that. Like I said, and you see people come and go, and some people are there and are good, know what they're doing, and you get others that get into it and they go, boy, did I make a mistake.
Yeah.
And they're the short-termers. So I'm asking for my vote and the vote of all Escalon residents. Don't restrict who and who we can't vote for.
Well, last thing I would want to do to be honest with you, former Mayor Haskin, is restrict people's, options. I guess the original thought, I think, where it was coming from was the idea of what we're having to deal with now as far as the country in general.
If I may speak on
I
that
don't
original
know.
thought, since I brought it forward,
Oh,
it was, we're
apologize.
currently dealing with poor decisions of previous councils, respectfully. I have the utmost respect for you, Gary, but there were some very poor decisions made by previous councils, which left us in the condition that we currently are. And I'd like to see that not happen again. Not to saying that future councils won't also make poor decisions,
You can
but
make
we need to give,
make the same
need to
stupid
give-
mistakes being on council for a year.
Agreed,
know?
agreed.
Yeah.
So let's share the love a little bit.
And I want to go back to Councilman Kay's comments that there is a world of difference between the small town of Escalon, as I said, where everybody knows you or knows someone who knows you or knows someone who knows someone who knows you. I mean, there's a big difference between that and the guy in the walker, for 40 years collecting his pension. And there's, like I said, for Escalon, it's a matter of, if you're all up there because you love the city, it's not a job. And when you get into compensation, I'll speak to that too, if I may.
That's your one time tonight, sir.
Sorry, you gotta have humor. It's past my bedtime, okay? You gotta have humor.
You said that an hour ago, Sherry.
I know. Well, come on. 4:00 comes early. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, and I'm a loser. Oh. I did. I lost. Let's be real. Okay. And so because of that perspective, I'm going to say that, we're a small town. If we were Manteca, oh, please put in term limits. If we were Sacramento, Stockton, whatever. I think, and I love y'all, I do. Well, some of you. No, I'm only kidding.
That was directed
I
at
love
me,
you
wasn't it?
all, and I do. 7,500 people, 2,500 homes. How many people are here? How many people watch? How many people have run besides some of us losers? I think, honestly, I understand the principle, and I agree with that for the most part with politics, but I disagree here. And so I respectfully disagree, and I love the person who brought it forward. I do. But I think you're cutting off our nose to spite our face, because what happens, that one, there was 12 people running one time or something. I don't know. I'm making up the number. There were quite a few.
9.
And then we've had 0. Okay. So don't box this in. Oh, good. Hey, I told you it was nighttime, but I just would say that if you pursue this, you're going to have to put a lot of things into your private conversations, like what happens if there's somebody running, then we get to break the rules, or do we appoint someone who's been here before? You're going to have to make a lot of contentions. And so for those of us who are involved in the city, for those of us, even though we lost, and even for those of us who know what's going on, and we get to know the candidates and we get to know our community, trust us to go ahead and decide who should and who shouldn't. Because no matter how long someone has served, obviously, I mean, Ed did lose, okay? But he also served for a long time. And I don't know whether you chose not to run or I have no idea. It doesn't matter. We're smart enough in this town, those of us who pay attention, that good things will happen. And if somebody makes more blunders and makes bad decisions, we're going to vote them out. So we're a smaller community. Escalon's different. So that's my 2 cents. Good night.
Anyone else like to
I
make a
don't think
statement?
she's going to sleep.
I'm talking on salary though.
Gotcha.
I would like to say for the record, contrary to Ed Alves' beliefs, I am not the cause he did not get reelected. However, with that being said, I think term limits are sketchy. When we're in something like a presidency, we need it because we can only take so much. I think the problem is the size of our town, and I agree that we don't have enough people who care enough to come to and or watch these meetings. And in order to take this role and be on the council, you need to have background knowledge of these meetings and what's going on in the city. You can't come in with a blind eye. And I think that the intention is good and wanting to, trust me, not see the same person on for so long. But I think that, like Gary said, that mistakes can happen with just one bad apple. And I think that having people that are on here that can teach new people is beneficial. I also think that it should be left to the voters to decide, not only if you're going to do term limits, but who we want in office. I think the problem is with the voters is that there is a lot of misconception in the political campaigning in what someone is going to do and say they're going to do and versus what they end up doing. And we realize the regret that we made voting for that particular person. Now we have to wait 4 years until their term is over. Lesson learned. And that won't happen again, because you get educated, right? But I think that having somebody in here that we have a good council now for the most part. We don't want to rock that too much, but adding a fresh face every couple of years would also be beneficial to add something different than what you guys are providing. And I know you haven't gotten a conversation, but I have to go. On my honest, if we're going to pay you guys any more, you do a lot. I'm not saying you don't deserve to get paid, but we're going to have to take it out of somebody else's salary because it's just not, we can't keep coming up with money out of nowhere to cover expenses that, if that's the case, Measure P committee, I want to get paid too. So what's my buy-in, right? I mean, we got to make a line drawn somewhere. So with that, have a great night and thank you.
Anyone else have anything? No? Oh, yep.
Quickly say one thing. At the last election, one of the things that I admired about some of the candidates, and Ed especially, I really appreciated the knowledge and expertise and experience he had with working with outside entities. And if he hadn't been there for all that time, he wouldn't have understood as much. They're like wolves coming after small towns now, wanting to control. So I think it takes somebody who has that knowledge and understands how the politics works outside of our own city. Had he not been there and had all that time and experience, as well as our other previous council member that we have here, that really made a big difference for Escalon, I think. And they all worked together and rotated through being mayor at one time or another. And I appreciated that expertise and experience they had, having been on the council for so long. And I trusted them. Small town, we all knew who they were. They can't get away with a whole lot. So that was, I'll add that. At first I thought I wanted terms. Now I'm not so sure. Now I think there are people who want to be elected, they'll run. And then there will be changes, but maybe not as drastic as it might be if you had term limits. So I think that's a positive thing. Yeah.
Thank you for your input. Anyone else want to say anything? No? Anyone online? All right. Well, Councilman Kay.
I'd like to make one more comment about the idea of term limits. We go in a rotation, two council members, 3 council members every 2 years. This year, the 3 of you your seats are up for election. Say all 3 of you, your term limit expires this year, 12 years down the road, whatever the case is. Now we've got 3 seats where we have had tenured, knowledgeable council members that God only knows who's going to be there. Who you're going to have even step up to try and run for it. Small town politics isn't fun. I think we can all agree on that. Not very many people have the skin for it. Then you look at the wisdom that these men accumulated over the years of sitting up here. I just can't say enough how much I just don't think that term limits for our city is the right idea.
Jeff, to your point, we were all a brand new council with the exception of Mayor Hagan, who had sat on for a year.
I know. And we got lucky.
Well, as much as I do agree with the spirit of the intent of this, Councilman Engel, I do think, I'll eat crow on this one. I do think that we probably shouldn't do the term limit. I think your logic on it is good. So,
I like the way it's
appreciate that.
going, yeah.
yeah, so I don't know if that's how everyone else feels, but
Well, why don't we wait till we,
want to do our vote?
let's talk about compensation and do it all at one fell swoop.
Okay.
I have a feeling I know how that one's gonna go too, so I'm just gonna say, hey, I'll just pull my items, and, as Andy said, I'll take the L on that one, and, that's okay, we can just move on to the next item.
Councilmember Engel, I think it's at least worth a short discussion.
Are you in favor of giving yourself a raise, Sean?
Absolutely not.
Are you in favor of giving yourself a raise, Andy?
No.
Anybody else up here?
Not today.
Okay, so can I just pull that and we can just go ahead and move on?
I just would like to note that when I decided to run, honestly, the reason I ran is because I love the community of Escalon. I don't do it for the stipend of $300 a month, period.
You didn't want to change
All
that?
right, well, then that's got to open up the conversation. So that was the intent, right? And that's what we talked about when I brought it up was $300. So I looked, what was it 1986 last time? There was an amendment made to the pay. Was that what was included in the?
That was in the original ordinance. I think it's increased a couple of times since 86.
Actually,
No?
Okay,
well, that was 150 back in 86. So my thoughts were is that it didn't really keep up with inflation at all. And that commitment, and if I can recall my own statement was that it may entice somebody who's potentially retired or has that little bit of extra time where it might say, okay, well, there is a lot of time that's involved and that little bit of extra compensation could potentially help that person as they're considering to run. If that made a little bit of a difference to them, because the $300 it's volunteer work. I mean, for the amount of time that we put in, it's volunteer work. And I think looking forward, which is what I was trying to do with the other item that I was putting forth, was look ahead to future councils. I figured there would be some automatic right away, and I'd say, hey, it doesn't have to be during any time I'm serving. That's fine. I don't have to receive any compensation from that. But I'm thinking forward for other council members, and as they run, as a little bit of as an incentive, because it is. If they wanted to go out for coffee with their constituents a few times a week, that's really, at the price of coffee and those types of things, it's not even going to cover that. Like, let's get them the ability to, be mildly compensated for their time. And again, if we want to continue that, I would gladly opt out of any additional pay. It's not for me.
I kind of feel like the black sheep. You asked everyone if they would vote for a raise for themselves, and you didn't ask me. I'm a little offended over here.
Jeff, do you want to give yourself a raise?
No, but I would vote to give you guys a raise right this second.
Okay, see, there you go. Right, or future councils.
To your point, Councilmember Engel, yes, in this packet, it says $150 a month. So if you just do that based off of CPI, 1986, 150 equals $440.62 in 2025.
Yeah, by no means do I think we reach the maximum of the 950. That'd be ridiculous, and it wouldn't have been a suggestion. Maybe there's some, if we want to continue the conversation, maybe it's a mild 3%, 4%, whatever it is, increase every year, just to ensure at some point the compensation does reach some type of actual number that makes a little bit of sense for the amount of time and effort that somebody can put in.
When you do if you do the math backwards on that, essentially that $300 in 1986 is now worth about $70-ish in today's money.
Yeah, that $300 with the CPI is $881.
Or, it doesn't necessarily have to be that compensation, but maybe an opportunity for that person to take that and just take that money. Maybe they want to roll it all over into a 401k, or they want to contribute to a supplement for their health benefits. We just talked about there's not a lot of folks out here that would potentially want to run. I think that's a serious problem.
I think it's a serious problem that we can't entice enough people that want to participate in our city. And so the little bit of additional encouragement to say, hey, that's an extra perk. You know, we all like perks from time to time, right? So an additional form of compensation for somebody doing the job that we do, in my mind, made sense. And again, I could totally exempt myself from that. I'm not worried about getting myself extra money. This is the same thing we were talking about just a minute ago. It's for future councils.
I think your intentions are pure. I don't have any issue with that. I just think that, I don't know. I don't have any appetite for paying myself more on this, I guess is what I'm getting at, from my opinion. But, hold on. Everyone okay with opening it up to the public?
Yes. Absolutely. I want to
We're
hear.
going to open it up to the public.
While the speaker's coming up, I did read it wrong. It has been 300 since 86. The 150 was prior to 86. So it appears it's been 300 since for 40 years.
That, to be honest, is a little short. But one example I'll give is I was talking to a teacher about running, and his first question, second question, how much do you make? 300. Do you get insurance? No, I'm not running. The whole idea is he wasn't running for Escalon. He was running for his own compensation. And that's what you want to stay away from.
Yeah.
To be honest, that 300, that's a pittance. You know, I wouldn't have any issue going with 450, because you all know there's a lot of work that goes into it. You know, just basically covering costs. But as far as insurance or any other compensation, I would say absolutely not, because then you're going to get the people looking to be compensated and whatever it takes to get that done instead of whatever it takes to get the city done. So, thank you.
Oh, she told us that she was going to sleep.
I totally agree. And the thought that I had in my head was 450 because it's still not compensation. It's still volunteer, but it's a little bit more to buy an extra cup of coffee or maybe a donut or a cookie or I don't know what. Oh man, could have used it. Okay, anyway. But at the same time, yeah, health benefits, no, it's not a job. Our founding fathers didn't have salary. When they served in Congress and they had to leave their states and go there was no salary. So it's the same kind of idea. It's for more mature people, right? Because you've got a little more wisdom, you've got a little more time, and you've got time to put into it, and you've got thought, and you've got investment into your community. And so it is an act of service. But there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of compensation for that service because there is a cost. And it's not just the hours here. And people who don't come here and people who don't know what you guys do have no idea. So even though nobody's going to watch this, I'm going to put it on the record. You have to read the packet before it comes out. How many hours does that take you? You are all on committees. And so who keeps track of those hours for you? And it's not here in town. Some of you have to go out of town and you have business meetings. I know because I've walked in on you guys at Starbucks, no, but not yours, in another town because then you're like, and I'm like, oh, hi, you know. So there's time, there's effort, and there's no way $450 would even cover it. But at least it's another $150 for about 3 cups more of coffee. Okay, good night.
Anyone else like to speak to this?
Mayor, if I may make one point from the
Yeah.
HR hat.
What do you got?
There are several employee-directed benefits that if you so choose, you could take part in. We have an FSA plan that's entirely employee-funded. You put up a certain amount of money and you can use that for your HSA or FSA benefits. You could purchase your own dental. You could purchase your own insurance. We have actually added quite a few employee benefits that are greater than what we had previously at the same cost to the city by just negotiating better rates and getting us out of the pool. One of the many parts of the cost reductions we did last year. And
Maybe that kind of stuff can be put in the.
no cost to the city?
Maybe that's the
benefit?
kind of stuff you can put in the new new candidate, elected candidate, packet or whatever,
Right, so just
you know.
think about that, something that doesn't cost the city anything, but gives a benefit to somebody that you couldn't actually access on your own. And maybe, somebody might like to do that. We have long-term care insurance. We've got all kinds of stuff like that, that we found it to be a benefit for our employees to help with retention, for just the, salaried employees and whatnot. But there's no reason why you couldn't participate in some of these things, especially if there's no cost to the city. Easily enough.
Appreciate your input on that. Anyone else want to say anything? Anything online? Back to the dais. Any last thoughts or questions or concerns or?
I think Gary nailed it on the head. That when you run to be a member of the Escalon City Council, what's your motive? Is your motive to truly improve the city of Escalon? Because I don't think, I can't speak for the other four, speak for myself. I've been on here now 3 years, and it's not about what's in it for me. It's what's in the best interest of the community, period. And that needs, even $450. I don't want the $450. I don't want the $150 raise. It's just part of, I hate to use the term, but it's part of giving back to my community and trying to make a difference.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I don't know if anyone else has any last thoughts, or we're kicking a dead horse here.
I think we need to put it to a vote, though.
I think that if we ever do get the income that Riverbank has, we can start thinking that we can have that kind of stipend, or a little more of a stipend, because we'll have more things to worry about. We'll have more codes, we'll just have more to deal with, more committees to be a part of, more time spent. But at the size that we're at right now, I think it's very appropriate. So the 300 is very appropriate.
We should consider a term limit on how long council meetings can go.
All in favor, say aye.
Well, it sounds like that dies, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so.
Do we still need to vote it, or can we just let it die?
No, the plant's dead. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think really what we're seeking is direction here. I think it's pretty clear the direction on the compensation piece.
Okay. So.
More.
Okay, well, I'll ask for a motion. No motion. Okay. We'll move on to number 10 then.
See, there's that wisdom in the back of the room.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion on item number 10 that we table this to a future council discussion.
Okay.
To the interest of.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, we're gonna table number 10 and move it to a lighter agenda. No?
Did we do that the right way?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, just making sure.
All right, number
It's
11.
not earth shattering, so we don't need to.
Let's go to number 11.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is to consider adoption of various resolutions establishing and formalizing the 2026 Economic Development Incentive Program. This item came before you in a substantially similar manner in December, where you gave direction to staff to bring it back with more formal rules and regulations so that we can actually implement and give out these grants to businesses in the community. So this item has a package of 4 resolutions, making it clear that economic development is in the interest of the public. And so the first resolution is the umbrella framework that allows us to establish incentives. It makes your intentions clear that you want to support the business community, you want a business-friendly city, and that this is a benefit for the public and not a gift of public funds. And then the other 3 resolutions are each a specific program underneath that umbrella. So the first one's, again, adopting the Economic Development Incentive Framework. The second one is establishing the new business grant program and adopting the business grant incentive policy. The third is establishing the business expansion grant program and adopting business expansion incentive policy. And the fourth is adopting the tax rebate incentive policy and authorizing the city manager to negotiate conditional tax rebate agreements. All of these items establish a framework and rules that make sure that funds do not get abused, that we don't have here what happens in Minneapolis, that we have rules and structures to make sure that public money gets expensed appropriately and wisely. One of the things that we want to do, and one of the things council instructed staff to do, is find ways to invest in economic development. And that's what these programs do. They invest in the community, they invest in businesses. And one of the things that you want is you want to see a return on investment. That return on investment might be monetary, it might be increased sales tax, it also might be an increase in jobs for the community. And so that's what we set up, is programs that we can monitor and see what is the return on investment of these funds, and are we getting the return that we expected? And if not, let's figure out why and figure out what works so that we can improve our economy. That's how all of these programs are set up. And if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. For the fiscal impact, there is no new fiscal impact. This is part of the package that you saw in the Measure P presentation earlier.
I don't see any issue with this. I don't know if anyone else saw anything. Dias?
I have one comment.
Yeah.
Trevin, so we kind of set the expectation with the city manager that we are here to hit the ground, start working hard, pushing forward, pushing economic development. And so I look forward to your continued hard work. I mean, I want to be singing your praises just as much as we sing Celinda's praises, that we sing Chief's praises. Yeah, we
Sometimes Justin.
sometimes give that guy an end praise. No, but appreciate you really putting framework to this and hitting the ground running and saying, look, we're serious about economic development. This is what we're doing. We're implementing these programs now. We're not sitting on our butts waiting for something to happen. I mean, city manager mentioned it at the beginning of the meeting. You are out there meeting the businesses, you're walking the streets, and that's so critically important. So thank you.
A pleasure.
Any other thoughts before I put it to public? Okay. Oh, the public, any thoughts on this? Any concerns, question marks? Sherry? No? Okay. Online? All right, we'll bring it back. Any last thoughts? Or anyone want to make a motion?
Can you scroll up a little bit, Michelle?
I'll add one thing that I think is valuable. There is an opportunity, and Trevin has reached out to some of the financial institutions in the community to see if they would participate financially in this program. We have some initial interest. It's not finalized yet. And we're talking with some of the other banks in the community, and we hope to provide more outside money into this overall program.
I will move to formally adopt 4 resolutions to formally establish the city's economic development incentive programs. First one is Resolution XX-25, which is adopting the Economic Development Incentive Framework. Second one is Resolution XX-26, establishing the new business grant program and adopting the new business grant incentive policy. Third one is Resolution XX-26, establishing the business expansion grant program and adopting the business expansion incentive policy. Finally, the fourth one is Resolution XX-26, adopting the tax rebate incentive policy and authorizing the city manager to negotiate conditional tax rebate agreements.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay. We are on to number 12.
Mr. Mayor, before we move on to number 12, I guess I need to seek advice from council. I did speak with city manager. I do have intent to build one, if not two, ADUs in the city of Escalon, which would have financial benefit to me. So I'm not sure if I need to recuse myself or abstain.
Our lawyer here, what do you got to say?
Out of an abundance of caution, you could recuse yourself. Since the regulations apply to everyone, I suspect it's probably not a conflict of interest. But if you'd like to recuse yourself, that's your.
Yeah, err on the side of caution. I'd prefer to do what's the most safe for the city and myself.
And then I think you could recuse yourself just out of an abundance of caution.
Do I just step in the meeting room? Okay.
You're allowed to hear what's said, so you could also go sit in the audience if you're interested in hearing the discussion.
Yeah, no, I was under the impression I had to go, but that's okay. I can still watch though, right?
Yeah, you can join online, sure.
Thank you. Okay.
All righty, then we'll go on to number 12. City manager.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Mayor. So I think the easiest and fastest way to explain this item that's before you tonight is to reference the building codes that you recently adopted. As you were told then, same as this time, we are preempted by state law. These laws from the state have already gone into effect. A lot of the laws and a lot of the ordinance that you're adopting or would be adopting here tonight would be to prevent some of the overreach from the state. So there's certain codes, certain things that were in our ordinance about how you build ADUs in Escalon that you might want to preserve, that we preserve that local control. So that's what this urgency ordinance does, is it maintains the interests and desires and the will of the public as expressed through the city council's past decisions in the ADU ordinances previously adopted, and maintains it for your municipal code here. So the formal title is considering an urgency ordinance amending section 1741-140 of Escalon Municipal Code relating to accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units to comply with recent changes in state law, and finding action to statutorily exempt from CEQA under Public Resource Code and section 21080.17. The issue with not adopting this is then you lose the local control that you previously had. So with that, I'll leave it up to you for any questions. Happy to go through any of the various bills that this speaks to and answer any questions that you might have.
Again, for me, I haven't seen anything here that's really screaming problem other than the state. So I don't know.
Just to put a little extra color on what Trevin said about kind of preserving some local control here.
Yeah.
We've had lots of changes to ADU laws over the last 10 plus years in the state of California. This time we added kind of a new twist in that one of the laws that they adopted this time for ADUs says, if you don't specifically incorporate these new changes, your conflicting ADU ordinance is basically no longer enforceable. You got to go with the state standard. And so by incorporating these new changes, we're basically just bringing our ADU ordinance back to life to not lose that local control, as Trevin said.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that those games have to be played. You know, will anyone else up the dais like to speak to this?
You had me at local control. Let's go.
Anyone over here? Oh, never mind, Ingle's gone. Yeah, I'm looking at Ingle's hat.
Oh, me?
Because I can never
Ingle's
see
hat.
behind you, so
Got it.
I'm like, never mind. You just had to be there then. All right, we'll go out to the public. Anyone have a thought? No, bring it back to the online, I should say. Back to the dais. Any thoughts?
I would agree with council member Kay. You had me at local control. So,
Okay. So,
Michelle, you want to scroll that down a little bit and
someone want to make a
I can
motion?
read this thing like I'm supposed to? I would like to make a motion to, well, this is just a consideration?
No, it's motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Okay, motion to approve the consideration of an urgency ordinance amending section 17.41.140 of the Escalon Municipal Code relating to accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units to comply with recent changes in state law and finding the action to be statutorily exempt from CEQA under Public Resources Code 21080.17.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right.
I'm gonna grab one.
Oh, I'll go for it.
Take a potty break. Just kidding.
Hold it. All right, so we'll move on to council communications. Councilman Kay.
About the only thing I'll say is this is a pretty good 4-hour meeting for the first one of the year. Seems like it was 6 weeks since the last time that we were here, not 4, but I hope everybody had a happy new year and a Merry Christmas, even though we're 20 days past the beginning of the year. Aside from that, everyone have a wonderful night, and hopefully Sean doesn't talk too long. Let's get out of here. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
Councilman Stroman.
Start the timer. I will be brief. How about that?
Sure.
I want to specifically thank Gabriella and Ed for their hard work for the Measure P committee. And if I came across abrasive or confrontational earlier, that was not my intent. And so if either of those took it that way, I apologize. Not my intent. I just want to make sure, I guess where I was going with that is I want to make sure that we're getting a broad spectrum of the community base and hearing the opinion of all community members on how we're to use Measure P funds. That's my only intent. My intent, I mean, we all have lives. I'm not expecting them to sit at Christmas on Main for 9 hours inside a tent or park feet when it's 118 degrees out in the shade. That's not what I'm saying. I just want to make sure that the community knows where to go to gather those ideas, or if they have ideas, how they can share those ideas with the Measure P committee. That's all my intent was. And so look forward to the next Measure P report, see what the community thinks. To that point, I will say, I appreciate what Sherry mentioned about there is a concern within the community that it was decided before the committee was formed where the monies were going to be spent. But to that point, I'm not speaking for the other 4 council members, but I can, as I sit here, everybody up on this dais, including staff, has worked really, really hard to improve transparency across the board. And included in that is the strategic plan that we adopted a year ago. And it's important to note that the decisions that were made related to salaries, to economic development, to pay down the unfunded liability, all of those decisions were made in an open forum, in an open council meeting. I don't know the specific dates, but that's the whole purpose why we have council meetings. The whole purpose is that this is what we would like to propose. Does anybody have any issues with it? And if you don't take the time to come before council and speak up, right, wrong, or indifferent, that says to me that you're okay with that decision that we make as the city council. So if there are objections, or if Gabriella and Ed are getting feedback that, oh, well, decisions are made, why are they spending money on salaries? Or why are they spending money to pay down unfunded liability? All of those decisions were made in an open forum. And if you disagree with this, that's fine. That's part of government. That's part of the process. Please come to city council meetings, speak up. We're here to listen. We're no different than you. We all work 9 to 5 jobs, sometimes 9 to 7 jobs on Tuesdays. But I mean, yes, we're on city council, but we're community members first, and we're your neighbors. So if you disagree with something we're saying, please reach out to us, come to a meeting. You can reach out to us privately. You can reach out through the city manager, reach out through Ed and Gabriella. But the point is, we're here to listen. And only last thing, I know you're timing me, so I'll make this real quick.
I'm just wishing we had taken the restroom break before this.
I just, I hope everybody had a great holiday season. And I mean, I think this council and city staff made a huge leap in 2025. And I look forward to the amazing things that we're going to do in 2026 together. I'm done.
Time.
Okay. Councilman Ingold.
I said enough tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pro Tem.
Real quick, because I wrote some notes, but I'll just read them through and we'll go fast. Thank you for Measure P and their great and very thorough presentation today. I just wanted to they mentioned, some being able to have input and whatnot. We do have a budget workshop that we put on before the budget, and last year nobody showed up. So I just want to say that make sure that if you want some input, we are open to input. Please show up. And Celinda prepared a very cool little interactive thing, and it was just, I think it was me and you that showed up to the budget workshop. So please show up to the budget workshops. Please give your 2 cents. If you're not here feeling like you're listened about Measure P, the budget's about the whole budget, including Measure P. And so all citizens are welcome at all council meetings to provide budget guidance or feedback all the time. Please show up and tell us what you think or don't. So, and then it was brought up about economic development was pushed. It is one of our goals, as well as Mr. Alps, to push that today. And increased economic development leads to increase to our Measure P contributions, as well as all of our sales tax base, and just is a benefit to all of Escalon. So keep your dollars here when you can, and do what you can. And then also Friday at 9 a.m. coffee with staff. So go tell them what a good job they're doing as well. So anyway, Happy New Year. And it's been late, so thank you, everybody.
Well, I'm just going to make one quick statement, because I think everything's been said. Trevin, you're doing a great job. I know you're new to the team, but you are fitting in with these guys really well. So keep doing your thing, and don't worry about Ed. All right. Meeting's adjourned.